CoCoTALK would like to thank our patrons who sponsor our show. So warm gratitude goes to Al Hartman, Alan Murphy, Blair Ledoux, Brendan Donahue, Brian Weasler, D. Bruce Moore, Davey Mitchell, Diego, Disney Saints fan, Eric Canales, Fedor Stamen, Frodo NL, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Vebke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, Jason Bucata, Jason Downs, Jenna Farron, Ken Reichert, Kyle Etter, Malfunct, Michael Pitsley, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Richard Lorbieski, Rob Inman, Stephen Wagner, Terry Steen, Terry Steggy, The Backyard Shed Gang, Tom C., Tom S., and Tim Lindner. Thank you ever so much, patrons. CoCoTALK is an unscripted live broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own and not necessarily those of the CoCoTALK show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds encouraged, sense of humor recommended. If any off-color comments were made, we're sorry.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. It's time to drop your socks, grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Welcome to CoCoTALK episode 178. Today's theme is the Glenside Virtual Picnic, or Pick on Nick Day.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
And we're on.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Yay.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Good.
Yay.
Hey, that's great.
So
Hey,
Eric,
John, do you
what-
bring corn for everybody?
It's virtual corn. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you
Mine's
bring
right here.
snacks
It's
for
not
everyone?
real.
For those of you
All right,
wondering
we
what the
got
heck
a-
we're talking about,
That's usually every week, but
yeah.
So
But-
we got
Today would have been the Glenside picnic, which is normally done in person. It's been a tradition for how many years, John and Eric? I don't even know, decades, I think, at this point, where all the people at the Glenside Color Computer Club got together and had a picnic, just for geeks to get fresh air once in a while. And of course, because of COVID, you're not recommended to be in groups of people in person. So now we're having a virtual one. And John's taking full advantage of it, eating a corn cob right at the moment. So,
yeah, don't ask John any questions right now. He's eating.
I was going to ask if there's butter and salt on there.
I can't believe it's not butter and salt.
All right.
must be good. He's not even talking. So,
Silence.
Not even listening.
The silence speaks volumes.
What
and
does he
Eric,
hit?
do you have anything cooking up on your side there, since you're also representing the club?
Yeah, I got some steak fries in the oven. I've got some barbecue ribs coming, so that should be ready in maybe 20 minutes.
So in a typical year, how many do you have that attend the picnic? In like when you're
Picnic? Well, last year we had maybe 10 to 20 people.
That's cool.
People don't generally drive from all around, so we were all pretty much local to the Chicago area.
Right.
And do you guys actually talk CoCo the whole time, or do you guys actually kind of let that go to the side and just enjoy a picnic and barbecue?
It was mostly CoCo. Although we did enjoy the picnic, and we got to just hang out and just talk about stuff.
Yeah. Well, this year's definitely the year for virtual CoCo events. We had virtual CoCo Fest and virtual VCFs, and now a virtual picnic.
Now we got a virtual picnic.
Yeah.
Well,
And
let's
Brian
jump
Gores, are you actually participating in this as well, or?
Yes, I've got my cheddar brats and my drink. Going to be here for a little bit.
Did you get any corn on the cob?
No, I didn't get that.
Ah, see.
Does David have his Diet Dr. Pepper and water? That's the question we're all wondering.
Good day, everyone. How's everybody doing?
Hey, David.
Sorry I'm late. I was planning on getting ready and early and prepping because Stevie was hoping I'd do the hosting and Mark would do the streaming, but I fell asleep in the tub.
Wow. Did you get all wrinkly?
Yeah, I'm like a beached whale at the moment.
Thanks for that interesting mental picture, Dave.
Leave your video off,
David
please.
Ladd.
Yeah, you're soaking in it.
I haven't done introductions yet, David. So you haven't
really
listened.
Calgon, take me away.
How many 2 liters of Dr. Pepper or Diet Dr. Pepper does it take to fill the tub up?
That I would not know, but you did share an interesting clip where someone did do that with coupons and only, what was it? Paid 4 cents a 2 liter or something like that.
That was something I read on the internet that someone back in their, I think, younger days or college days got a bunch of like 49-cent off coupons for Dr. Pepper, and at the time it was like, just a few cents more to buy it, so they got a bunch of it for a couple cents of 2 liter and then bathed in it for some unknown reason. But I thought of you, and that's why I sent it to you, David.
Hi, Simon.
Okay.
So we'll go around the room and do some formal introductions then?
Yeah, David, are you going to host the show then now that you're here, or do we not have an official host?
Yes, I can certainly do that. So since we're doing the panel introductions, well, I think everybody knows who I am. I'm David Ladd.
He's the loud, exuberant one, yes.
He's David Ladd, and you're not.
Hi,
Okay,
David.
so starting at the top left, it's Jason, the CoCo Man Riker.
Oh, hello, David, and hello, everyone. I am ready to go. I've got my Diet Dr. Pepper. I've got some snacks, and I've got some acquisition and project updates coming up later.
Oh, I am on the edge of my seat to see that. Next,
More enthusiasm,
If you're
Jason.
not on the edge of the seat, you're taking up too much room.
all right, so the next person is John Mark Mobley. How are you?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm running for the office of Vice President for the Glenside Color Computer Club.
Oh, that is a good thing.
Welcome.
You've
Welcome.
got 3 or 4 people to vote for, and I'm one of them.
All
First
right.
that you're here, man.
Of the 4 people to vote for, he's
Free
one of
stuff
them.
you offer.
All right, the next person on the panel is Mark Bosley.
Hello. Now my mic is off mute.
Yes, it
He's
was.
also our engineer today.
Yes,
Yes, he's our
pushing
streaming
buttons.
engineer. Next on the panel is our resident Canadian, who you would think would be the nice Canadian, but he can certainly get far down and dirty like the rest of the Americans. And welcome, L. Curtis Boyle.
I can actually get far worse, I think. Chet would be my competition, I believe.
Oh,
Hello,
He's not
everyone.
Canadian, though.
yours, though, eh?
I mean, we have this talent as a group to make Canadians swear.
It's
All
a
right,
gift,
the
really.
next person on the panel is Patrick Euland.
Howdy, folks. I may have to rely on Shift Mic for my picnic, but I've got some CoCo stuff.
Excellent. Next on the list, I'm going straight down on the panel, would be Chet Simpson.
I'm not sure I'm comfortable you going down on me.
Knock it off.
Oh, there goes that
And
family
thanks for
friendly rating.
everyone for joining, and good night.
Well, I
Run the
think
credits,
about the
Frank.
PG rating.
Oh, this was a family show.
The granddaughter
Wow.
of the show.
Okay, moving on. We're going to our resident other Canadian. The other one that we have to say is named Trice. It is.
No, we don't.
Nick Maruda.
I'm the nice one you were talking about, right?
Well,
Exactly.
yes.
Not Curtis.
why we're
I
having
don't know. I've heard you be kind of testy on Discord.
Yeah, I get a little testy sometimes. You're right. I'm not perfect. I tried, but I'm not. I haven't reached it yet.
He's not. It's not testy. He's being passionate about something.
Passionate.
Did you have to use the word testy?
1, 2, 3.
Okay, moving on from that
Dude, you're
one.
nuts.
The next person in our lineup is Eric Canales.
Hey, that's me.
Presidente.
I'm the president of the Glenside Club. I'm running for president again for this year, and I have a few acquisitions to show off today, and otherwise I'm just here to eat food.
4 more years. 4 more years.
I think it would be 4 more quarters.
Not 4 quarters.
Oh.
All right. Next person on the list is Ron Delvo.
Hey, guess what? I'm so old that I just walked in my garage and realized I have a Tandy collection.
I don't think that's really
Anybody
that
that's
old,
seen
sir.
your Facebook knows you have a Tandy collection.
Ron has sipped Tandy all year round. That's what
But I
he is.
didn't know.
He's that old. He didn't know.
All right.
Thank you for
Moving
inviting
on
me.
over, we're seeing Mark Overholzer, our resident Apple II enthusiast.
Yes, but I like Cocos also because I have about the same amount as apples. Thank you.
Well, nobody's perfect.
Well, he also has Commodores as well, so he's equally shared the love.
I also have some Sinclairs too.
Ah.
I
Now,
think
we're
everybody
moving on
does.
down to the next row, and I believe, if I don't screw this up, it's Salvador Garcia.
Oh, you're muted.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
Hello, everyone. I'm
Welcome.
one of the locals to the Chicago area. I try never to miss a Glenside Color Computer picnic, and I have to admit, I'm here for the food.
Stuff you can't get at home, right? Stuff you can't get at home.
Tell us why you're here on CoCoTALK, because that'd be interesting.
What? I'm on CoCoTALK?
Ron,
That's the
How the
stock
hell did
reaction
that
when we
happen?
tell
That's
them that. Yeah, that's,
No, we're the other show.
we had a nickel for every time we heard that one.
Exactly.
Wow. All right.
no respect at all.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yes.
It's
We're
actually
moving on
Coco
over.
Trek.
And I believe the next person on our list is Brian Gores. If I pronounce that right.
Yeah. Kind of like churchgoers and moviegoers or partygoers.
Coco Goer.
You just summarize the Glenside picnic there in 3 phrases.
Yeah. Have a CoCo. Haven't used it for the longest time. Like to just arrange things and get it going again.
Is that a
And-
Coco keyboard in the background there?
Hanging on the wall.
No, that's a big picture of some coins that were issued of different states, and it was just you get a quarter with the state picture on it, and you pay $7 for shipping. Go figure who won that one.
So who got left out?
Left out?
There's a gap in the middle.
Oh,
Who
I
got
think it's
left
Georgia fell out. It's sitting here. Keeps falling out, so I left it out.
Seceded.
Yeah. Good
All
eyes.
right.
Good eyes. You saw it right there, right?
Yeah.
Yep. All right,
But,
moving on over.
I'm the treasurer, by the way.
Well, that's
Only one on the
running
list.
again, Brian,
Great sign.
Yeah, only one on the list.
Running unopposed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on over on the next person on the list, we've got Simon Johansson.
Jonathan, if you don't mind.
Jonathan, sorry. See, I knew I was going to screw something up at some point. I just derailed. See, there's the train wreck.
There you go. All good, all good.
Yeah, we'll be showing off Simon's latest project on the Game On News section, so he can comment on it if he's still awake by that time.
Yeah, Curtis, if you do that, then look at the very latest one, and because
in the comments, there's a few updates in the comments too. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, because me and Paul Fiscarelli said, okay, this is like frame rated to 10 frames a second right now, so watch it at 30.
Yeah. No, we'll be showing that too, so don't worry about that. I saw that.
Cool.
All right, the next person on the list. We don't know if we want him to unmute his mic or not, but it's Grant Lee.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm sitting here enjoying some good old Kansas City barbecue.
Oh, that sounds so
And your new puppy.
good.
Yep, and I have a new puppy too. So.
You use barbecue sauce on that also?
Not his food. That's a pet, just in case anybody's wondering.
And your little dog too.
Yeah, I didn't hear. What is the name of your new dog?
Juniper.
Juniper? Okay.
Commodore,
yeah, Juniper.
right?
As in the berry.
Very nice. So the next person on the list is one that likes rewriting ROMs or optimizing code in ROMs. Our resident ROM guy.
You guy's name?
It's Ram Del Low.
Microphone. Sorry about that. I accidentally pushed the mute button. It is James Diffendaffer.
I thought the broadcast stopped for a second there.
I thought he forgot your name.
No, I
Or
didn't.
he's trying to figure out how to
Accidentally
pronounce
tapped
James or something. I don't know.
Okay, James, you're up.
Hi.
We didn't know that about you, James.
All right. Next and final on the list is Nick Marentes, our resident CoCo game pusher of the year.
Now? Do I speak now?
Yep, you're up.
Good day, everyone. It's almost breakfast time here, so I'm going to be having a picnic breakfast. So it'll be a Vegemite on toast.
I thought you said you're having food. I don't know if Vegemite qualifies as food.
I thought
What
you'd
do you
have a
have,
bowl of
Vegemite?
Frankie's.
I thought it was
Vegemite was
Ants.
a byproduct.
I'm sure the ants stay away from that.
And everything else.
Wow.
It's like a mosquito repellent that you ingest for some reason.
COVID deterrent.
All
Okay, go
right.
ahead, David.
All right. So are we ready to kick on for...
No, you didn't give us your usual salute introduction.
I already did at the start.
You did at the top.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
how did you stay sleeping during that, Nick? I don't know.
How did you miss that?
Jeez.
Maybe
All
Nick
right,
wants
so
to
I
hear it
guess
again.
Dave,
since we're through the panel...
You're forgetting Hitachi here, who's come and joined us.
What?
You're forgetting about Hitachi, who just came and joined us.
Oh, Hitachi's the name of your cat?
Yeah.
I've got a Hitachi as well, 6309.
And guess what the name of the other cat is?
Cat
Motorola?
number 2.
Motorola.
My other cat is Motorola.
Oh, wow.
Sounds logical to me.
That's
So geeky. It's awesome.
And the other one's
He
Rocky.
wins.
Yeah, and Rocky has stopped by and
So I take it Hitachi is the faster one of the two?
Your 6502 ran away, evidently, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Lordy. All right, moving on. So let's see here. I think it's time to start rolling in our footage to get us ready for the game on. Is that right?
Well, we were going to have Eric talk about Glenside and tell us about the club and maybe a little history and how to join. and
Who's
things
running
like
for
that.
what and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I guess at that point, you take it off, Eric, since I have to take care of a family member at the moment. So I'll be right back.
So the Glenside Club is running the picnic today, and we have a picnic every year, but this year we couldn't do it. So we're just here to eat some food and hang out. I think we've been running CoCo Fest since 1992, although I believe we were a club before that, Dave. And I think this month we've got officer positions running, so you can vote on who will be president, vice president, treasurer.
Oh, you got muted.
You've
You
muted.
muted, Mike, Eric.
Sorry about that.
Taking lessons from David, but go ahead.
So if you're not a member, come join the club, and you can participate, vote, and get emails and stuff from the club about what's going on. Our mission is to help spread awareness of the CoCo and maintain some of the historical records, and we have a lot of things in our archives. So I guess, yeah, that's the club in a nutshell. We our main mission lately has been to just run CoCo Fest every year.
So it's your fault the eBay prices are going up?
Well, no, I'd say it's the work of all you guys at CoCoTALK and the community being as big as it is. I don't know if there is any other retro computer that is as big as the CoCo for the community as far as things.
For a close-knit community, I think that's probably true. Some of the other scenes are a lot bigger because they had much bigger user bases to begin with, but they seem to be a little bit more infighting and stuff. Like it seems to be a bit more of a contest between different factions, whereas for the most part, the CoCo community is quite homogeneous and works together quite well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of them gets together and has a weekly show like this, so that says a lot right there.
Hey, Marco, can you paste the link for the Glenside website?
Yeah, and the website is glensideccc.com if you want to check us out. We're on Facebook as well.
Now, you mentioned that elections are coming up here. Is that next month in October?
Yeah, this month we'll be running elections. We expect to send out an announcement to everybody by next week. And then the announcement or the next meeting will be announcing the winners, which I think is on the 22nd of October.
So as the people that are running for each position, is that fixed now, or is there still people coming in, or?
Well, yeah, that's pretty much fixed now. Although, I mean, if you've always wanted to be a member of the club and help run things, we could definitely use your help. So, but right now, as far as everyone's aware, the positions are fixed. We're still waiting on one person to confirm if they wanted to run.
That's David Ladd
right now.
Yeah, because the reason I'm asking is, did you want to announce like who's running for each position now, or do we want to wait till next week, or?
Sure, we can announce that now. Currently, we're the president. The people running for president is myself and Jim Brain. For vice president, I may have to grab my notes actually. John Mark, do you remember who was running for vice president?
I remember it was Tony Pedraza and Terry Steggy.
And Terry Steggy.
Probably.
Terry Stagey.
I don't remember if there was another person.
I think there was a third person, but you know what? My notes are blank, so we'll have to wait for the secretary's report for the details. And then I think for treasurer and secretary, both those positions were unopposed. So that's going to be Brian Gores for treasurer and Richard Baer for secretary.
Right. I only had 3 listed for vice president: John Mark, Tony Pedraza, and Terry.
Okay, so that's where we're at.
Anyway, for those of you who want to participate in the club, and they do sponsor CoCo Fest every year and help run it and organize it and everything else. Of course, we did the virtual one this last year. So thanks for helping us on scrambling to get that going with what would everything happen right before that. Hopefully we can have an in-person one again next year. But if not, I mean, we can organize another virtual like we did. That actually went fairly well. I think we had pretty good feedback on that here on CoCoTALK. I'm assuming you guys must have had some pretty good feedback with that with the club as well.
Yeah, everybody loved that show. It was a good show.
Yeah, it was definitely better than nothing. And it got everybody together for like, what was it, 5 or 6 hours? I can't even remember.
About how many members are in your club?
Well, last time I looked, it was over 200 active members.
Wow. That's not bad.
Yeah.
And you're based in Chicago area?
That's right, in Chicago.
And how often do you guys meet normally? I mean, I don't know if it's different with virtual meetings versus in person, but is it once a week, once every month, every 2 months?
We meet monthly on the third Thursday of the month. Next month, we moved it ahead a week. So if you want to come join our meeting, we'll be on at the 22nd. So, and then we have CoCo Fest every year, and we have the picnic. And I think those are all of our events, basically.
And do you guys participate in other events too, like VCF and stuff that are in the Chicago area? Or?
That's right. We usually run a booth for BCF Midwest, and I don't know about any other computer shows, although that's always an option.
Okay. Sorry, Nick, you were asking something?
Do you have details on how people can vote in the election coming up?
Yes, you can come to www.tandylist.com and register, log in. We don't have everything ready yet, but by next week we expect to. You do have to be a member of the club, so you can reach out to us on our website or Facebook to get the details on how to register for our club. Currently, I believe the dues are $15 a year. Is that right, Brian? So $15 a year to be a member.
Yep. And you guys publish a newsletter too, which I think Stevie's been doing this last year.
Stevie runs the newsletter. We publish it quarterly, or try to publish it quarterly.
Quarterly-ish.
Quarterly. Yep.
Yeah, and that's been a long time thing. I mean, I remember picking up Glenside newsletters at my very first Rainbow Fest in '86. So you guys were doing it before then, even.
Yeah.
Did you say that they were archiving all those newsletters?
Yeah, I think Bob Swoger has been working on that. I don't think we have them released, all of them released yet. But if you go to our website, you should see some of them. If you click the splash page on our front page.
Okay, cool.
And did we give that did we give the website out for the club, the glensideccc.com?
Yeah, I posted it, and I'll post the link to the
okay,
newsletter too.
just for anybody on audio, I just wanted to make sure it was out there.
Are you guys one of the oldest clubs in existence for the CoCo, or is there an older one somewhere? Are you aware?
I'm honestly not aware of any other clubs for the CoCo specifically. Are you guys aware of any other clubs?
Not still in existence. I mean, I do know some that were around at that time, but not that still exist.
Yeah, the
Not
club
specific to the
that
CoCo
that I'm in here started out as a color computer club, but then they voted to change their system type to expand to include everybody. So
yeah, there's a lot of general retro clubs now, but as far as a specific CoCo based club, I don't know of any other ones besides Glenside. I don't just want to count the Facebook group as a club.
Well, and our Glenside Facebook page is on Facebook too. Yeah, so I'm not aware of any specific CoCo clubs other than ours.
Okay. We ready for game on?
I certainly am.
Yeah.
Are you, Nick?
All right.
I am.
All right, let's roll the footage.
All righty.
High Score Challenge with Nick Marotta.
All right, welcome to another week of results. This week we played Digger 3 with 26 people playing. That was a great week. Coco Man 100, Mark Overhoser 3,900, R. Alan Murphy 7,300, Mark Bosley 9,500, Michael Klein 16,400, Adam Tandy Dragon Guy 33,000, Paul Shoemaker 34,000, Ben VR Drakes 98,600, Graham Webkey 110,900, Jim Rye 112,000, David Ladd 112,200, Flutterball, 113,200. Joshua, 114,200. Mr. Dave 6309, 116,300. Catlord, 120,400. David Croker, 132,700. 8-Bits in the Basement, 146,900. Me, 159,500. Tom C, 161,900. Canadian Retro Things, 183,100. Buck Owens, 209,600. Cargo, 260,300. Sloopy, 335,500. Redbeard, 402,000. L. Curtis Boyle, 436,800. And the number one score this week belongs to Tasman with 489,900. That was fantastic and a great week by all. Thank you very much for your submissions.
Good job, Curtis Boyle. Wow.
I only got second. What are you talking about? Actually, third if you want to consider Chet's score.
But it's right up there.
Yes, Chet submitted the score unofficially of like 700,000 or something, totally out of this world. Chet, did you want to share your screen or do you want me to share my screen?
No, you can share yours.
Okay. So with us today we have Chet Simpson, the author of Digger 3. Welcome, Chet.
Morning. Well, here anyway.
So, sorry, I'm just setting up to share my screen here.
No worries.
So, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about the history of Digger?
Well, Digger actually started as part of a exercise, at least for the first installment. This was done in '91. This was actually a single screen, no scrolling. And I put that one together in about a month. And we, showed a few people at Rainbow Fest, and this was based on more that the game played, and that was, basically how the guards or the monks, depending on which version you play, how they interact with each other, and overlap and all of that, and how they, may or may not fall through the holes that are dug. So. Moving forward to '96, there was some disagreement on what the Color Computer 3 was capable of, and as far as games and all that. And there was a challenge that was issued by my buddy Eric that to do a game similar, or not similar, but to replicate Gold Runner 2000, which was a game that he had written on the MM1, which was used a larger graphics in order to display the level. It was the level size was roughly the same. I think it was 39 by 24, whereas the original game was more 32 or 40 by 24, depending on which game you had. So throughout the development of this, there was a lot of things that were added into it for over what was seen on some of the original versions. There was the bigger graphics, there was scrolling in 4 directions, there was an audio soundtrack that was playing in the background along with sound effects and all of that. So there was since it had been issued as a challenge, that there was time frames and all of that, and so there was a lot of things that just did not get translated well for the block sizes, which were in original Gold Runner 2000 were 24 by 24, and here they're 16 by 16.
Okay.
And so there was it's set for, I don't know, almost 20 years. And so a couple years ago, I found an archive that I had that I've been looking for with some of my CoCo stuff in it, and part of that was the original Digger 2 code. And that was, that was something I'd written, 96, 97. And so I pulled all of that out, and I decided to spend a couple days to see, if I could even get it to rebuild, as I had, because, some of the tools were missing that I had to replicate, and the tools that I'd written before, they were written with a much older version of C, so there were some libraries and stuff that were missing, and I had to get, so I got everything built up, and a couple of days later, I had everything up and running, all of the disk routines, and I got it up on I only had an emulator at the time, but I was able to get everything up and running, and I started tinkering around with it and seeing what else I could do to it. And I went through and I started reviewing a lot of the code, and looking at where there are some weaknesses, and particularly what I wanted to do with my next project. And so I started changing some around some of the graphics and changing some of the routines that handle it. And so I decided to turn it into kind of a more or less a prototype and a testing ground for some of the stuff that I wanted to do on my next project. So throughout that, there was some things that were added, the map loading, map conversion. There was a whole new set of tools that were created to do it. Over what had been done back in '96 and '97. Because when I did it in '96 and '97, I took the assembler that had been released by Motorola, it's the official assembler for the 1609, and I added some additional features to it and got that up and running. There was a new development system because I was since I was building everything on the PC, I needed to be able to communicate with the CoCo, so I grabbed the RS-232 pack, got that plugged in, and I created a system where I could actually build everything on my PC and then push it on over to the CoCo and test it. So it made the development a lot easier. So a lot of that still carried forward rather than just pushing it out to a CoCo. Just built a disk image. So even all of the original tools, a lot of them were still usable, but I had no map editor, and I wasn't going to go back and try to find. I don't have my game board editor from back in the day, and I wasn't going to write a new one. So I started looking at some of the tools and the things that were available, today that would allow me to utilize that. So I grabbed a tool called Tiled, pulled apart the file format, it's all in XML, and then added a conversion process that allows me to handle the object and then generate assembly code from it that I can either embed into my code or generate a file for it and pack it. So there was a whole new set of tools that were added to the chain, things that were replaced, new ones. A couple of the old ones just were not going to be up to it. And then I started adding in, the ability to process that, load that into the game. So it became a much more rich environment. I could actually do more things to it. So instead of just having the Gomers, I was able to add other things that you see in the game, such as changing the way that the exit works. I've added in the bats, which are completely separate, and a lot of other aspects to it.
Damn bats.
Right. So and then.
They're awesome.
So that allowed me a lot of flexibility with the artwork as well. So I had already been working with Paul Thayer on a lot of the character graphics and making sure that the contrast between that and the rest of the world art was going to be good. So some of the additional tools came into play, and some of the conversions came into it. There's a Piskel that we use for some of the animations and the construction of that Paul had used, and then here where we've got the parallax. That's actually kind of a trick that was added in later on. And then there's actually effects that were added in here that did not make it into the game, lighting, translucency effects, and stuff like that. That I just didn't have the space to include. So there was a lot that happened, throughout the development of that in order to get to where you see it today. And then, of course, the AI and some of the player input was changed, but there was also a lot of things that were just completely left alone because it would really require replacing them. And that was kind of out of the scope of what I really wanted to do with this. I mean, it was just a prototype. This is just a testing ground for some of the stuff that I want to do and get implemented. So it's it came in really handy, but rewriting some of that stuff just wasn't gonna to get me where I wanted to, and I can just write it with the new stuff that I'm going to be doing and have everything there. It's like the parallax there. It's actually just a trick. It's an oversized tile. It's a 32 pixel by 32 pixel tile that takes up 4 tiles, and it just does a couple of calculations and renders it in a special way that you get that. It's just part of the tile animation. Well, that whole section of functionality is going to be completely replaced, and I just wasn't going to do it for this game. So there's still a lot more that can be done. I mean, there's no compiled sprites in here. There's no special handling of any of that. There's the sound stuff that I worked back in the 80s is in here. So you got your ass trapped.
This is a replay video by Canadian Retro Things, by the way.
Oh, cool! He got his ass trapped. So there's it really just came about as kind of an experiment of something I want to see. What can I do with this with what I've got? Because it was poorly written. I mean, I had so much. The requirements for the original game were just so minimal that there was a lot of CPU cycles left over, so I didn't really care how I wrote them. There was things in there that I wrote intentionally to be bad. A lot of them did get replaced. particularly for the animations and all of that. But yeah, this is just really kind of a stepping stone to kind of the next project.
Wow, the graphics are beautiful and the animation's really impressive. I love the way he swings his legs as he climbs across the rope, and the way he runs, and it's really, really impressive.
Yeah, Paul did a really good job. We went through several iterations of both the Gomer and the main character, so it was, there was a good evolution of the animations and the shading and everything that goes on. And that's was a real stickler with Paul and myself as well. That was making sure that those contrasted well with all the surroundings was very, very important.
I love the boiling lava. Sorry.
Well, I certainly like the parallax and the other background animations that you've got in there as well, like the lava, the sewer outputs, and all the other stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of effects with those that I didn't get to do, particularly with like the sludge falls with those coming down. I wanted those to be animated with overlays, but there was just not with the way that the rendering system was set up for this. It's pretty fixed to the to the original design, so it was just going to be a lot more effort than it was really worth.
So I heard you said this takes up pretty much all of the 512K RAM.
Yeah, it does, and there's actually a couple of things that I could clean up where I could actually reclaim quite a bit of memory because of the way that the screens are rendered. Originally, there was going to be contiguous scrolling in all 4 directions, and so that was actually going to require some wraparound. So there's still some considerations within the rendering code for that, but it ended up not being it because of the block size that I chose. So the hang on a second, I think I'm going to sneeze.
Okay. So everybody keep yourselves entertained for a sec as we watch.
Talk amongst
yourselves.
yourselves.
That hard is really hard to get. Oh, you can run through there. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh my gosh. I don't know if
so there were some things in there that just that weren't going to happen. This amount of time and effort that would have gone into it just was going to be too much.
Well, it's really impressive. You shipped it on a 40-track disc image as well, right?
Right.
To get a few more a little more space.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing with the contiguous scrolling is that because of that, you don't. I'm using 3 separate screens because I use a managed back buffer in order to get additional performance out of the background animations and the updates. So, because of that, the way that it renders, you can actually overlap the screens. So the bottom of screen 1 actually becomes the top of screen 1. But the way that the rendering is set up doesn't allow me to actually change that around in order to reclaim that space, because I didn't actually need to use it. So there's kind of a bottleneck. I could reclaim it if I rewrote a couple of things, but it like I said, it just wasn't worth the effort to get it out when this. But the rest of the things, like the graphics, I think I've got like 4 or 5 tiles empty and a couple of sprite slots empty. But the rest of it with the sounds, the code, I mean, everything is quite large, because I do have a lot of tables to help with performance.
Right.
So you must be using a lot of compression on your sound effects and stuff, I'm assuming, when you're loading it, because your disk image is only 180K. If you're filling 512, I'm assuming there's some pretty decent decompression going on.
Well, the only compression that I use in those is I just pack everything up, so 4 bytes becomes 3 because of the
6 versus 8-bit type
or
thing?
6, yeah, because of the 6 and 8 bit. So I don't really need those. So I those are kind of packed together. In fact, that was one of the original tools that actually did end up working without any hassle, was the packer for that. But other than that, the only other compression I'm using is just some very basic RLE for the maps.
This video is courtesy of you, actually.
Oh.
Might be an older version, but yeah.
Maybe I have a question in the chat from Raul Mont. He's asking, what's your next game project?
Well, my next project isn't actually a game. My next project is going to be a multimedia rendering system in order to facilitate that. It's actually quite large. It doesn't explicitly have anything for games. I mean, I'll be doing some game demos with it. But my next project is likely going to be along the lines of, an adaptation of the Flash movie. There are several properties within the early 80s, Escape from New York, Time Bandits, Flash, the Flash Gordon, some of those that are really ripe that really never got a good, game representation.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the humor in the game. There's nothing like dying and then having the screen tell you, good job sarcastically, or, yo, you died or whatever.
Well,
I had to laugh.
No,
And I got mad at the game too. I was like, you bastard, but.
There is one change that I'm going to be making, and that's going to be to how the kindness bonus is handled.
That's tough.
Yeah, with the original game, it was much easier. In Digger 2, it was much easier to obtain that. But with this, with some of the additional things, those type of rewards are there to really reward the player, and so it just seems really off. And so I went through last night and I kind of spec out some new stuff. So I'm going to change it up so that that bonus is actually based on a per Gomer thing. So if you got like 5 Gomers, you only kill one, you'll get like 5,000 each, and then for each level there will be a specific additional bonus if you don't kill any of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you pretty much have to drop them in the hole right away for them to have time to climb out.
Right. And the other one that I'm going to change is that if they fall into the fire, killed by that fire, it doesn't count against that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, as you see, this is level 13, which I haven't made it to, so it gets a lot harder with the spikes coming out of the ground and the more areas you can't dig through. And that this looks like it gets very hard, very fast.
Yeah, it does kind of build up, and you've got you still got over 20 levels to go.
But that being said, I found the first 2 levels had a nice ramp to them in terms of difficulty, and the way it teaches you how to do things like dig sideways and that, which you have to do later on.
Yeah, the first 10 are kind of like boot camp. The rest of them are hard.
Yeah. So I'm
just
barely
the boot in your backside.
I'm barely out of boot camp, so it's really enjoyable.
And I have to say, this level 13 that we're looking at here, this is one that I noticed on the game score challenge. A lot of us got stuck in this for a while. It was
I noticed that too.
Yeah,
I smiled. Well, I mean,
wow.
that's.
Why do you hate us?
This level is actually intended to be a kind of a sharper, increase in difficulty to kind of prepare you for some of the things that come afterwards. But yeah, it wasn't. We left it intentionally that difficult for that reason.
Yeah, and plus when you get to the next 14 and 15, which are a bit easier once you go through once or twice to figure out what you have to do, then it's kind of a relief that you finally got past this type of thing. So it's
because the key thing about level 13 is that there are so many different patterns that you can start off with. And one of them that is pretty easy. If you immediately run to the left, you can actually run over those spikes there.
Yeah.
And if you go there to dig in order to get that 1 gold, you notice sometimes that guard's there, sometimes it's not. So you have to kind of adjust a little bit more throughout that particular level.
But yeah, I've been getting a bit into tips and tricks here, like on level 13 in particular, one that I noticed a couple of us stumbled on, and I don't know if you use the same technique or not yourself, is on that one on the left that you have to like unbury, and it's buried a couple levels deep. You can actually trap some of the Gomers in there, so you can free up the rest of the maze that you only have 1 or 2 to deal with instead of all 3, which made it a lot easier. Then you unlock him at the very end, and he's picked up the gold, so he's got it out of there for you.
Yeah.
And then you just have to dig and trap him.
Yeah, those tricks are in there intentionally. We actually went through and tested those to make sure that there was, the possibility for like if there's just a single block that they can fall into, how much what was the ease of use of getting them in there versus your bonus and everything else. So there was a lot of stuff that was balanced in some of those. So you'll see some that they just seem really obvious that you should be able to trap a guard in there. That's we did that intentionally.
Do you say we? So who you worked with, Paul, on the design of the levels?
Paul did a lot of the testing, as did Curtis did some testing, but a lot of the the key feedback that was on those particular items was a lot of his bitching.
Feedback, I believe. Is
Yeah,
what
that's what I call it. So yeah, that's just the polite way of doing it. So, but yeah, those things of him screaming at it and all that was really helpful in getting a good gauge on how well other people were going to kind of react to that. So I was like, yeah, that's going to work.
Oh, all I know is I heard you playing online, and you'd say, "Oh, you guys are going to hate me."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh boy."
Yeah, I still have to see this final level where you said we're really going to hate you because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you're
you
gonna.
said, go ahead.
The only thing that I will tell you about the last few levels is that sometimes you just have to stop and think.
Well, you said on the level before the last level, you're awarded quite a few lives, and you're going to need them. Is that
16.
accurate?
16.
Yeah. So definitely going to be a challenge. And the warp, you can't warp all the way to the end, can you?
Sure, you can.
Oh yeah.
You have to earn your way up to get the passcodes, but.
Oh right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the thing though is that and you have to understand about the level before that. With those 16 lives, those 16 lives come at a cost of aggravation.
Yeah, of course.
So having those there, and depending on how well you do with the last level, you may be more inclined to go through that every time.
Yeah, you have to
your choice would be to start with what is the standard, 5 lives or 4 lives?
5 lives.
5 lives. So you could start the last level with just 5, or you go through the aggravating level before to try to get your bonus 16, so you have 21 to do it with.
Right.
Right. That's cool. That's a good.
Yeah, it's not tedious or really boring in any way. It's just it's one of those things that does kind of keep you on your toes, and it's really meant to kind of get you in that mood when you start doing it, because in this case you're doing all that moving and you're going to need it for that last level.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also, so the game is free, but you're asking if people enjoy it to make a donation. That's correct?
Yes, to the United Negro College Fund, uncf.org.
That's a great cause.
Yes, it is.
And you have an itch.io presence now, right?
Yes, I decided to go ahead and throw it up on itch. It made it easier to just distribute it. I mean, it's up on the archive. It's been real great about getting it up there, pretty quick. So that's been helpful. And of course, Facebook. But this makes it a little bit easier because I've got the manual and everything posted all in the same spot. So, and I've actually had some. I've actually had some views from a couple of non-CoCo channels. So that's it's interesting to see that that come through. But
oh, great.
Yeah, so I think another video popped up on YouTube a day or two ago. I haven't actually had a chance to check it out. Yeah, so
that's great for the CoCo.
Yeah,
that's really good for the CoCo because we don't normally get a lot of exposure outside the Tandy family.
Yeah, the Tandy's actually been giving us a lot of exposure this year, which is nice too. So.
Yeah, and I put out a video for that too. That was I've gotten some links from there. In fact, I think I'm going to go back and update the video to have it linked to the itch site.
So, what's your user ID on itch?
Hypertech Gaming.
Yeah, there's a link to it in the Game On news we'll get to too. So that.
Oh, great!
Sorry, I just posted as well.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Are there any other questions from the panel or the chat room
or any tips and suggestions from people to playing it? I still prefer playing with keyboard myself for the most part, just because that's how I'm used to playing Load Runner and Digger 2 and Gold Runner 2000, etc. But
best advice I can give is don't die.
So useful.
I have one question.
Oh yes.
What did you think of the eventual composite palette? Because I know that we had some people that were trying to play it who don't have RGB monitors and want to play it on the real hardware, and I know you were kind of resistant to that because the color looks like crap. You and Nick totally agree on that. Nick Marentes.
Well,
there's a disclaimer there if you want to pause that.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, it's a
that was about as polite as I could get that one.
Geriatric is televisions.
Yeah, image quality on your display is not guaranteed.
Yeah, it's just not. I mean, I don't object so much to a composite monitor. I mean, I can actually kind of accept that. That's not too bad. But the presentation on a television is just terrible in my opinion. And in order to compensate for that, you at least on some of the older televisions, because the quality varies so much on those, you do kind of want to have at least some variation in the graphics. I mean, when you go from something that was designed to that into something that is like more RGB-ish or more modern, you don't really see too much of a difference. It looks better, certainly, but going the other direction, it's just looks terrible. So yeah, if you're using it on a geriatric television, then wow, you suck. At least go black and white. Seriously, go black and white. But yeah, I mean, a composite monitor shouldn't be bad. I thought that the scenes on the composite, it's still blues are still difficult to do, which is used heavily in here and part of the contrast with the main player. So that was pretty much my concern, is how much that was going to blend in, but it does seem to look pretty good.
Yeah, I know a few people have said to pass along some thanks to you for actually doing that, since they do want to play it on real hardware and they don't have an RGB monitor. Those are getting harder to find.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. I'm also working on trying to get the best interleaf for playing on real floppy disks as well.
Only David.
Oh, yes.
Close-it monitor.
Optimization comes in all forms.
So for the people that played it that are on the panel now, what tips and tricks, or what were your most frustrating moments? Or
I liked using a Sega controller, and I found that sometimes it's best not to kill the guards, especially when you're near the end, because then they'll drop down from the bottom when you're going for the exit and kill you. That happened to me more than a few times, and it was very frustrating, and that really made me mad.
I had a frustrating time with my Sega controller. I probably should have used the keyboard, which I always used with Load Runner. So,
for me, I was using a PS4 controller on my desktop with MAME, and it was working just fine. But then again, I prefer the thumbstick controllers. So.
Scott Cooper in chat says this game made me say things I'm not proud of.
To which I think Chet would say mission accomplished.
Chet would be proud though, so that's okay.
Oh yeah, good for him.
Jim R in chat is asking, where did some of the sounds come from? The sound samples?
All of this, almost all of the sounds came from the original Gold Runner 2000. Those were done by Eric Critchlow. Those are all sampled from various songs. I know that at least one of them is Michael Jackson. I'm not really positive where all of them came from. And then there was a couple that were added specifically for Digger 3 that came from other sources for the Golgothan and the Spikes.
And I heard you say that you're getting tired of hearing some of the sound effects because you've been playing the game so much.
Some of them, yeah. It does get a little old.
Would you like some more personalized audio? I'm sure I could give you some better quality ones.
Just because you played a lot tested, obviously. So
well, there's a lot of the levels that I tested had a lot of gold on them.
Yeah.
So I mean, those were especially difficult. but yeah, they don't bother me so much anymore as they did during the development of it, particularly when I was doing a lot of heavy testing. So it's they're all right. I mean, I like they just really hit the point, particularly the exit sound, the all of the gold collected.
Yeah.
All of that is really good, but once the one where you pick up a gold is being the most prominent one there, it does get tiring after a bit.
Well, I wasn't dissing the sound effects. I was more a comment on how much you had to play to test the game.
Yeah, I love the sound effects.
I love the sound effects.
I've actually been trying to duplicate some of that theme for chiptunes. But yeah, it didn't turn out too well. So yeah, they are a fantastic set of sounds, particularly for this game.
And you actually pulled some sound effects out too, didn't you? At the last minute, you had a few optional ones in there before.
Yeah, well, it wasn't so much the sound effects themselves as it was the code.
Yeah, you could turn sounds off at one point, or was that just for the datas?
You had sounds. I mean, those were really just for gauging performance. They were never really meant for the production.
Yeah, because you had walking sounds and climbing ladder sounds and
right. So I have a slightly longer version of the Golgothan sound in there.
So this might be an impossible question to answer, but roughly how long would you say it took, contiguously, to write this game in terms of days, weeks, hours, like whatever? Like I know calendar was a couple years, but like would you say it was like contiguous time would be a few months or?
Oh, I'd say less than 6 months.
Okay.
I mean, I can actually pull those metrics out based on my by my commits to SVN, because I mean I'll do a commit at least every couple of hours when I'm working on something heavily. So it's you know, you add 2 hours to the last end time, and that's, you know, pretty much what you got. And I've got several, you know, projects that I could do that to. But yeah, I'd say less than 6 months, because a lot of it was there was a lot of interruptions, particularly with you know, COVID and other things going on. So there was swaths where I didn't get a chance to work on anything for, you know, 3-4 months at a time.
Yeah. Well, it's well worth the wait, man. Thank you. What a great gift to the community. Definitely very talented.
And then I have another question for you too, Chet. You said it took roughly about 6 months of actual programming time to get this done. How long do you think it'll take somebody to go all the way through and win it? And then number two, have you actually been able to complete the game yourself starting on level 1, or do you have to use the warp codes yourself?
I have played the game through from start to finish. That was a requirement for release. That's why the game had been done, and it actually took me a while to release it, is that I had to go through from start to finish.
Oh, that's cool.
On all levels in a single sitting. So I'm not going to tell you how long it takes.
Okay, but do you expect it to be months before somebody else manages to get it?
Oh, you mean how long it takes for them to master it? You could probably master this game in you know, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks of you know, some good playing. But that really depends on, you know, your level of experience with those, you know, type of games. You may pick it up really quickly, and hey, you know, a couple of weeks, boy, you've kicked the shit out of it. But at the same time, you may be you know, a bit rusty at it. Maybe you haven't played something like this in, you know, a decade or so, and then you kind of get back into it, and it takes you a few weeks. But yeah, anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, I would say, depending on your skill level.
For whoever just asked, thank God, yes, there is a pause key. It's P.
That was me. I was wondering.
And then enter to start again.
Yeah.
The first time I paused, I didn't know how to unpause it, and I thought I was gonna have to. I was like, oh no, I don't want to lose this. So I started hitting every key.
I considered pulling the pause out of it. I actually considered having, you know, if you want to break, you got to complete the level or sacrifice.
Or again, where it depends.
Yeah, because I mean, I got to say, if you're gonna pause my game, I'm gonna be a little offended by that. I mean, your P break is not as important as my game.
See, for me, it was on my best game that I did. I ended up losing, like, because I didn't hit the pause key fast enough. But it was a phone call that came in that screwed me up.
Oh, yeah.
Because my phone's linked to my computer, and I was playing it on VCC, and all of a sudden this stupid pop-up comes, which takes the focus away from the game. So all of a sudden I lost control of the game. So I either have to answer the call or decline the call really quick, and by that time I died.
Did I see you're able to dig in the blue where there's blue covering the bricks?
You shouldn't be able to, no.
Oh, okay. Maybe I missaw it.
So you mean the blue?
Those you can.
Okay,
yeah.
what is the blue top then?
Those let them run faster.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't make it this far.
Now, when you dig a hole there and they fall in, they also come out faster too, don't they?
Yes. Yeah, they come out faster and the hole closes up quicker.
Oh wow! So
it's the Gomer's Fast Jelly.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, you don't want to know where
I love the green slime too.
Yeah, I really like that animation. That turned out really well. That was one of the first updates that I did, was to add you know, a little bit more animation. That in the bubbling lava.
The first time I saw the intro screen, the first time I saw the intro screen, yeah, the green slime and the lava really grabbed my attention.
And oddly enough, this actually uses the same palette or nearly the same palette as Digger 2. In fact, I'd have to go back and look. I think it's the default palette that I use from Image Master.
Well, it's a nice wide variety palette that actually covers all the basic colors and adds in a few like browns and stuff for ground and things. So it's a nice palette to pick from.
Yeah, it really fit, you know, this game pretty well. So you know, and even a lot of it wasn't used extensively in Digger 2 because there wasn't, you know, the graphics were really minimal. It looked like just a giant, you know, bigger version of Lode Runner. And then there was some other tiles that actually weren't used.
The other thing that I liked, thought was cool, but also hated is you don't get credit for the heart until you clear the level. So I didn't realize that at first. I was like, oh, you just get the heart and you can keep playing again and again. But no,
Right.
you have to clear the level, which is
Yeah,
actually a good decision design wise, but doesn't benefit the player obviously.
Oh, sure it does. Actually, yeah, it does, because rather than being only able to get one, you can actually get more than one.
Yes.
For completing the level. So
Yes.
there is a huge benefit. That's why you get those 16 on that last or next to last level to kind of help you through it. So there's always a trade-off.
It plays to the player's greed factor too, because sometimes they're a little bit out of the way, a little bit harder to get to. You have a better chance of dying trying to get them. So do you take the risk and go for both hearts on the level, or do you just grab the easy one and then just say screw it and go on to the next?
I always try to get the hearts right away because I wanted to.
Yeah, for me, so on some of the later levels, I get like the easy heart, and I'll just leave the other one unless I've got a real opportune time where the Gomers aren't anywhere near me or type of thing, and I'll go get it then. But sometimes I just go, it's not worth the risk here because I'll probably die and lose it anyway.
It's funny. This is Canadian Retro Things video, and he was testing older versions, so he was showing how it looked in composite. But of course, he fixed that with the composite release. That's why I'm skipping part of his video. But yeah, again, thank you for releasing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an awesome game. I can't praise it enough. Like I said, I put it in my top 5 CoCo 3 games of all time at this point.
Oh yeah, I've seen people say this is the game they'll pull out to show their friends what the CoCo 3 is capable of.
Yeah, I've been seeing some comments like that. It's always definitely good to see that
it's a mixture between those and we hate Chet for designing levels. It was
yes.
I am looking at once I get everything cleaned up and situated from and do a postmortem on this. I'm going to work on getting the details for being able to create your own levels, because you'll have to go through. You can replace all of the levels easy enough. So you have to kind of build a whole kind of a whole pack of all the all the levels. But it's actually pretty easy to do once with the tool, and I'm hoping to actually kind of integrate it a little bit with a plugin for Tiled, so that you can just run it from from within that.
Oh, that would be neat.
Yeah, because there's like with there certainly wasn't enough space to add, and I wasn't going to spend the time to add a level editor to this like I did with Digger 1. Especially when I can just release the details on using the tool. You just have to replace the levels file because all of them are loaded into memory at startup.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because we can actually have a bit of a competition, not only to play new levels that other people have designed at that point, but even just have a competition to make interesting levels.
Yeah, if people could swap them somehow, that'd be really cool, really fun.
And then people can get back at Chet and create levels that he hates, so that'll be good.
I'd like to make a tournament version with just like 10 of the hardest levels we can find.
Ooh, that'd be
so
cool.
Is there a Digger 4 on the horizon?
No. This
is the end of the series.
Yeah, this is it. Even the demos stuff, just for kind of testing my next project, aren't going to be anywhere close to this. There's a whole lot more that can be done, depending on how you set up the rendering for everything, with like the parallax there, like I said before, it's just an oversized tile kind of a trick, but at the same time, I've also got to draw that rope right on top of it. So, how that type of situation is handled, there's a lot that can be done, largely in part because of the 6809, just because of how powerful it is. So yeah, this game is definitely, or this series is completely done.
Although you said you may do some update to this game to change the
tweaks,
bonus.
I think, basically. Yeah.
Tweaks.
Yeah, I'm doing an update. As far as I'm concerned, that's really a bug. Because the intent there is to reward the player for being able to meet a certain criterion. It just is an overall bad experience. So it's a bug. It's something that needs to be corrected. Doing levels, that's something I'm going to let the community do. I'll just collect them and release them as a kind of an official thing if I can find enough really difficult levels to do. I mean, anything that really makes me scream, definitely I'm going to put out.
So you want us to suffer, but you want us to suffer fairly.
I want I want everybody to make everybody else suffer. I mean, this is all, consider this like, the purge of digger levels. You go through and you make other people suffer. You see how
I
much
like
you
it.
can
It's
make them die.
the dark side. Here's your free game. Now here's a level generator.
Right. Make it as difficult as you can. And then you got to get everybody either on Discord or Zoom or something, and get everybody playing at the time, so everybody's screaming and cursing each other at the same time. It's a great experience. You get that smack talking to me. That's why you've got those less than stellar compliments in the when you die at each level. I mean, you got to have a friend there sitting there, right next to you or behind you, talking smack when you die. And
exactly.
And since you really don't have that anymore, I thought I'd go ahead and take care of that for you. So you're welcome. You're welcome.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
That's right.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah. So, and by the way, I know a couple of people have posted that that they aren't particularly too happy about it. So my suggestion is to do what we did back in the day and load up disk zap and change it to whatever you want.
There you go.
Yep.
My feelings are not gonna be hurt at all.
So they just stored in clear text in the binary then?
Yeah, but if you screw it up, I don't care. Don't come to me for help. if you go in there and you change something, you start going in there with disk zap and you change something. Oh, it won't load now. What do I do? It's like, I don't care.
Yeah, no software support at that point.
Right. You're pretty much on your own. But yeah, if you want to change, if you want to go and change the graphics, go right on ahead. I mean, they're not compressed. They're just flat.
Yeah, I went in to change the colors for the first composite test, but that's about all I did.
I may update that to make that a little bit easier, but I don't think I don't think there's gonna be any need to change that. Although there are some changes that I have made that are not released yet for the Gimme X. Those are mostly levels, so I will kind of do that because it kind of dresses them more. You get more animations, particularly in the background, and you get some more benign animations from other characters. So there will be an update, but it's not really. I mean, I've already done all of that code, but so there will be some stuff for the Gimme X that will be on there. So when you do get that, you've got the game that'll give you even more animations and more speed on that.
Oh, cool! I'm looking forward to that. I've been playing with the Gimme X, and I mean, just the speed increase I've seen on my stuff, and that's Junior League stuff compared to this is pretty impressive.
So yeah, there's a bit more parallax, and that really does. It makes a difference. It really does. So and I've got a whole extra megahertz to drop some of that stuff on there. So and it's somewhat optimized, I guess. It could probably be more optimized with the specifically with the some compile sprites specifically for that, because those are pretty basic and but yeah, there's like I said, there's still a ton left to do.
I wanted to ask you were talking about releasing a level editor and getting other people to create levels. I was wondering, did Paul contribute to level design, or was he more on the graphic side, the tiles and icons and?
He was the player and he did the player main character sprite there. He did the Gomer sprites, and he did the bat sprite. In fact, the bat sprite that was what got my attention. To bring him on was the work that he'd done with that bat, and some of the background, as you'll see here, came from the stuff that he did for Downland 2, or the Downland sequel. That he was thinking about doing. So the background came from that, and the bat came from that. So that was when I bring on the rest of the tiles I did, and of course the animations, and then the Golgothan, the spikes I did. And a buddy of mine, Pat, I don't know if his stuff, I don't think the couple of tiles that he did for me were actually used in any of the levels. But yeah, so there was a lot of different people involved in the graphics.
Okay, so but all the levels designs were all yours then, as far as the level layouts?
No, actually, some of the levels originate from both, or from, Digger 1, there's a couple of those levels in there. There's one
the classics,
or 2.
Right?
Yeah, and then there's some, I think 5 or 6 from Gold Runner 2000. And of course, they were also in Digger 2, but they've been adjusted slightly to accommodate the updates to the UI and some of the newer elements within the game. So they are it's a fresh new take on those levels, and I don't think a lot of people that are playing Digger 3 now were really exposed to some of those, nor would they really. I personally, I wouldn't. I'd like to see that game just go away because it was just terrible. So yeah,
Which
yeah.
one? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm really unhappy with that.
Oh.
So there is some some aspects there that within those levels that I think brings a whole new experience, particularly to those levels, and certainly changes a lot of different aspects of it. I mean, there were things that were the pathing for the Gomers. Certainly, if I just dropped those in, and this was one of the big problems that I have with Digger 2. Just dropping those levels in based on the AI that I'm using for this game doesn't necessarily match those for that level, and it doesn't mean that they could be. In fact, with Digger 2, a lot of them end up being pretty bad.
Well, I mean, you wrote Digger 2 / Gold Runner 2000 kind of under duress for part of the challenge. You had a time limit, so you couldn't
But yeah, but I also all of the AI though was prototyped on PC. I wrote a prototype for the game in C in a couple of weeks, just to get the scrolling and some of the control aspects of it down, see what I was going to have to do for it. So a lot of the AI that came out of that was done within that prototype and then translated over to C. So there was, and unfortunately, I didn't have access to the MM1 version at that time, and I probably, and that may have just been because I didn't really think about doing that type of comparison, and I didn't really spend a whole lot of time with the looking through the original code in order to get that up there. So there was the difference in AI made a huge difference in that particular game. So there for what it's worth, a lot of those levels just it doesn't really play as well as it should.
And then I was going to ask, because we kind of asked you this last time when you announced the game was getting released, but have you had a chance last week has Eric actually played it and got back to you on feedback on actually playing it, or?
No, actually, I've got a copy that I'm putting together to send to him.
Okay, is it a special copy? Yeah.
Oh, what?
A special copy?
Yes, this is a very.
Like I said, it's a fantastic game. One of the definite showpieces for the CoCo. And
yeah, it is. It's there was a lot of time that went into doing the graphics and getting that. I mean, that was a huge part. I mean, a lot of this stuff went through several different revisions, especially the diggable blocks and the different variations of it. So that's definitely good to hear.
The whole side digging thing. I mean, that added a whole other element to the game that wasn't in the original Gold Runner 2000 or Digger 2. So.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and that also caused a few problems because I had to go back and retest a lot of aspects for each individual level to see where, if there was any hidden spots where that could be used that might be too advantageous to the player. There was a couple in there that were really, really questionable that I left in, but we'll see how people can use them.
Well, I got to say, one of the most frustrating sounds in this game, a Gomer's coming at you, you hit the dig button, and you get that thud that won't let you dig, and you're like, oh, I'm dead. that was a heart-wrenching sound.
Yeah, a lot of times when I do that, it's because I'm pointing in the wrong direction when I hit that button.
Yeah, and that's one big difference between all the Gold Runner style games on the CoCo is that basically you always dug in the direction that you're facing, whereas the original Apple II one, you had two keys, dig left, dig right, didn't matter which way you're facing.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, if nobody else has any questions for Chad, I thank you very much for being here and answering our questions. And again, thank you for this game.
Yeah, thanks for having
me. You're welcome. And
looking forward to the next project too.
Yes, definitely.
Well, some of the I can't give you an idea what some of the demos are going to be because I've actually been talking with Paul about a couple of them. So there's certain aspects to vertical scrolling and some of the things I'm doing particularly with long maps and overlays and special effects. So there's kind of some of the things I'm going to be releasing are going to be they're not going to be real games. They're going to have a lot of game elements, but they're not going to have like scoring and all of that. But kind of boat racing and just playing around with some of the more fun aspects of of games, like some of the micro racing games and micro machines
Oh yeah.
and just to kind of to flesh out a lot of the animations and the rendering system, particularly.
It's kind of like game engine tech demos that are semi-playable type thing.
Yeah, similar to that. I don't know how far I'm going to actually take them, but yeah, there's going to be some interesting things to come out, particularly for the effects. Things like shadowing and lighting and all of that it really makes a big difference to the presentation of some games, and so it's going to be some pretty fun stuff.
Are you planning on having that engine support the Gimme X2 with the extended palette for shading and lighting and stuff?
Yeah, that's the color control. The way that everything is designed is that it's got a modular approach. So things like the color control can be swapped in and out depending on and controlled from various portions of the code and synced. So it's really kind of too early to say exactly how a lot of that stuff is going to be handled, but I really want to get support for a lot of the stuff in the Gimme X. Just to make sure that it can be taken advantage of without me actually having to go in and change any of the projects that I'm working on.
It's I think for me it's like demos in general, because if you have a demo is fluid from one part to the other, and you've got transitions and stuff like that, and the transitions can be used in a game to make it so much better.
Yeah, there's dealing with the transitions is a little bit different. That was one of the reasons back in the day that I created an app called Studio 29, was to handle setting up all of those animations and those transitions, and not just like between scenes of the game, but say one particular type of sprite for a character to another. Whether like if you look at Dexter is kind of a good example, where you go from a kind of a robot to something that's flying around, doing those kind of transitions and all of that. In fact, I have something up that I was working on before this that I can actually show you what I'm talking about. So in modern days, this would be something like let's see what.
You want to share your screen then, Chet? Or?
Yeah, let me.
I stopped sharing.
All right, actually, you can see this on my. You can just pin me up there, because this is on my. I've got this on my webcam. Animation. So what I'm using now is an application called HitFilm, which is free. Unfortunately, the file format is not documented, but I've done some work on stuff like this in the past, in importing some of their animations for more modern stuff. So I've already got that aspect of within my tool set to use. So in doing this for the CoCo 3, all I have to do is make sure that one, I can convert all of the assets over, and that I can associate them with a particular keyframe. So this is actually something that I'm doing as part of the loading thing, which will be used as kind of a miniature part of the animation system that is in this presentation layer. So when I'm on the wrong window.
You said HitFilm is the product.
HitFilms, yeah, HitFilms. So there's it's called HitFilm Express, and it's free. You can, a lot of the effects won't translate. Now, I've used this before for creating FLC files, or or FLC-like files, which are flickers, and use a delta compression for one frame to the other for intro. So in this particular one, I just have several images that I've imported. This is the Emperor from Super Return of the Jedi, or Super Star Wars Return of the Jedi. So he's got 6 frames, and then I've got a couple of frames of lightning, and then 4 of my logo, and I just composite these together in a series of animations. And this is just a nonlinear layered editor, and of course this compresses all the layers down and creates a single sequence of items that can be played back. And so it just uses some and there is some sound associated with that. So it takes that and it translates that into a sequence of commands that I can do, and it packages up all of the animations to it. And of course, that's part of a larger build system that builds takes all assets into account, and just goes ahead and we'll just play this for you. So a lot of this is actually coming out of some of my notes from the stuff that I was doing on the last version of Studio 29, some of the changes that I was making to the keyframe, because I'd gone from a single frame or a single key for every single frame to actually using interpolation to determine the position between two different things. I didn't have curves and all that. And then of course I'm adding some stuff that I've learned over the years, in dealing with this kind of stuff in my day-to-day work. So, this is just a real simple, animation. All you got to do is pack it up. But being able to get this on the CoCo, back in the day, we really didn't have any programs to do that. We had was it soundtracks for sound, but then the rest of it you kind of had to do yourself. So Eric and I, we both had Game Board Editor, Image Master, and then I had Studio 29 for the animations. And now I'm really taking kind of all the stuff that I did back in the day and finding equivalents that I can use on my PC today and make a couple of conversion programs to kind of get to the same position that I was 30 years ago.
Chet, we have a very nice sprite compiler going on right here. I don't know
Interesting.
If talk to Paul Fiscarelli. We have a very nice sprite compiler going on here. And it can do stack blast, it can do everything.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to talk to him about that.
Don't make something that's already there. Don't reinvent the wheel.
How do you know I don't already have one?
Come on, we've got a really nice sprite compiler going on, and it really works. And you can change the size of the screen, you can change everything, and it will spit out the code for you. It will spit out FCBs or code or anything.
Does it handle the sharing for the edge of the contiguous scrolling for horizontal axis?
HV and stuff.
Right.
We probably need to connect on that. You probably need to tell me about the sharing, because it's probably one single scan line.
Yes. Yeah. You have to deal with that wraparound.
It's probably one single scan line. But please, I've tried to talk to you on Discord and stuff like that, and you've not connected to me right now. So please connect to me.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I will get with you on that.
Okay. I'm gonna shut up now.
Okay.
Any further questions for Chet, or any from the chat that I've missed scrolling by there, Nick?
None that I've seen, other than somebody jokingly asked if they can get a copy on cassette of Digger.
Sure. Actually, you know what? I can do that for you. If you really want to sit through that type of anguish, then yeah, I am absolutely more than happy to assist you with that. In fact,
Chet's
I can
all about the anguish.
Yeah, I'll even add in some special loading screens just for you. I've got some really cool animations. Takes about a meg. So I expect that given the cost of tapes, it'll probably cost you about $500 or $600, because it's going to be a lot of cassettes.
You need like a 90-minute tape to load this thing, or what?
Oh, that's just for the first loading screen, sure. Yeah, I'm gonna make more money off of this one.
All right, are we ready for next week's game?
Almost. Hold on, give me one sec.
Well, you haven't decided yet?
No, I have decided. I'm trying to reshare, and I'm having some difficulties. Can you guys see the screen?
Yep, we see a Digger 3.
Oh, Digger again? Cool.
Next week's game is the Digger 3 game engine.
All right, so
next week it's the cassette edition.
Next week's game is actually a requested game, and it will be Defense.
Nice.
Which is a missile command clone for the CoCo 1 and 2, and
love it.
Also runs on a 3. Guess who requested it?
I'm guessing Ron Delvaux myself.
Said love it. Exactly. So Ron, I'm expecting a score submission this week.
I played this from 82 on.
Excellent. So
yeah, it was distributed by Spectral, from what I remember.
Yeah, it's a great game.
So you'll need you'll need an analog joysticks for this, like the Black Beauty, because it's you have to be able to move your crosshairs around. But yeah, it's a great game.
Count me in.
All right. So,
and for those not familiar, this version of Missile Command is based on the Atari 2600 style, so you don't have the being able to fire from 3 separate areas. It always fires from the middle.
Yes, and you have more than one, and it looks like you only have like 10 shots, but there's actually multiple payloads.
Yeah, those white dots on the far left and the far right is another 10 in your reserve, basically, and those disappear as you use them up too.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a great game.
You get wild things come down.
Oh, yes. Yes. You get these ones that are really hard to...
Little crosses that come down and they go sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah, the smart bombs, it's like Polaris does. Polaris is more based on the arcade one where you have the 3 different firing ones. And you have to strategize, like I can get a shorter, quicker shot if I fire from over here instead. But this is much easier to play with the joystick, because the other one you have to switch between keyboard. You know, we have to fire from 3 keyboard keys because we don't have 3 joystick buttons. So this one's a lot easier to learn.
So again, it's called Defense, and it's in usual places. And
you know, I think there was a CoCo 3 version somewhere. When this comes up, it's red instead of yellow.
So like a palette hacked version, like an RGB version.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know, Nick. I'm really on defense about this one.
I can't follow that up with anything, so I think I'm going to end this segment
You're
right
defenseless.
now. Oh God, help us all!
It's getting worse and worse.
Hey,
I was going to say thank you guys, but thank you guys who played. No, thank you, Curtis and Jason, for those terrible jokes. And
we live to serve.
Nick, well, in their defense, it was pretty funny.
Oh God, help me!
Nick, next weekend.
Thanks a lot, guys. See you next week.
Next week when you show this, put my little banner up I made.
Okay.
You know, next week when you show the game.
Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, and we want a gameplay video from you, Ron, too, because you never play games. So this is the one chance we want to see you actually play a game. Record it.
I do. Just yesterday I played it and I got pretty good score, and they took a picture of it.
I want an actual gameplay video.
Yeah, I know.
I want it from 2 different views. I want one of the screen and one of your reactions.
That's boring.
All right, shall we take a commercial break?
Yeah, and we'll come up with Game On News after that?
Yes.
Okay.
You are watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading weekly video podcast, featuring the Tandy Color Computer. We spread the love to the past, present, and future for all models, including the original color computer, the CoCo 3, and the world-renowned exclusive French-Canadian CoCo 2. The Radio Show.
The music is back. The MIDI Maestro available now, only from Retro Innovations. Go the4retro.com.
Hi, this is Eddie Zerbinsky from beautiful Quebec City. Vous écoutez CoCoTALK.
As you're enjoying CoCoTALK, we also want to remind you about the CoCo Discord server. This is a place where people come to connect, to ask questions, to provide answers, to share information, and to socialize. So when you're done, why don't you head on over to the CoCo Discord server and we'll continue the conversation there. The easy to remember link is discord.cocotalk.live. See you on Discord. CoCo 123 is the Glenside Color Computer Club community newsletter that's been in publication since 1985. While the Rainbow magazine may be gone, it doesn't mean you still can't have a cool CoCo periodical. Head on over to the Glenside Color Computer website at glensideccc.com and then click on the Documents link to view all the past issues of the CoCo 123 newsletter. Not only can you read all of the past and present issues, we'd also love to hear some submissions from you. So if you'd like to send an article, a column, something to talk about, maybe even a program listing, send an email to glensideccc@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. The CoCo World Map is a cool community resource where you can view coconuts from around the world. Head on over to map.cocotalk.live and see where your fellow coconutians happen to be living on the planet Earth. If you would like to submit yourself to be on the CoCo map, send an email to cocotalk@cocotalk.live, and we look forward to seeing you on the CoCo map. Hey guys, it's Stevie Strode. If you've been watching CoCo Talk for a while, hopefully you understand that everyone is welcome to join this show. You don't need an impressive resume to get on. You just need to enjoy the CoCo and be willing to talk about it. There is no wrong way to CoCo. There is no wrong way to be a fan of the CoCo. There's no wrong way to be on CoCo Talk. You just have to want to talk CoCo. So if you would like to join us, then reach out to us on our Discord server, which is discord.coco.
And you're watching CoCo Talk live. And I'm playing Daggereth online like that idiot from the book.
Can you dial back on the condescension there as you respond there?
We now return you to CoCo Talk.
So welcome back, everyone. Just before we get onto the Game On news here, just want to point out a couple people have joined us from the Glenside Computer Club. So I believe Bob Swoger joined, if you want to say hello. Or maybe he's away from the desk at the moment. And I believe Richard Baird joined as well. Nope.
Okay, all you're seeing of me is a fireplace. And I'm only unmuting so I can say, yes, I hear what's going on. Thank you.
Okay. Are you taking part of the picnic today too, Richard? Or
theoretically, yes. I'm supplying the campfire, you see.
Oh, I see. So we just have to bring out our marshmallows and hot dogs and start roasting.
Yeah, well, we'll be doing that, but the sharing part is the difficult part.
Well, the fire is constrained to the fireplace, so that's good.
Yes.
It's usually the dumpster for us.
Yeah, that's the fire we're familiar with. Anyway, I noticed that you guys had logged in during the Game On Game Challenge segment there, so I just wanted to acknowledge you guys were here. So
I've got an acquisition to show you guys. Look at that. See that?
You acquired some food?
Yes.
Hold it up a little higher.
Yeah, a little higher. We can't see it.
There we go.
Yeah, I ate most of the fries.
I don't have a headset, so I'm going to mute myself now.
Okay. Thanks for stopping by to both of you. It's pretty good to have quite a few of the Glenside members here on today. So for the Glenside virtual picnic. And thanks for joining us. So on to the Game On news segment. So I will share my screen. I'll have to wait till somebody else stops.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll try to remember to put sound on this time because I keep forgetting. Are you guys seeing that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so as Simon had mentioned, and I think he's had to leave already. If he's still on, he can chime in, but if not. He's uploaded several updated videos for this Boulder Dash type looking game that he's been doing, a game engine he's working on with Paul Fiscarelli. So this is the latest official post here, which I'll play. And then he's got some updates that him and Paul have put into the chat. So I'll play one or two of those so you can get an idea of some of the changes that have been happening just in the span of a day or two. So this is where they added jumping, and it's got the horizontal scrolling. And this is meant to run in a 128K CoCo 3, I should mention. So not too long after they posted this, there's some comments on getting the jumping to look a bit more realistic, like where you arc and you slow down at the top of the jump and then speed up. So they did a little demo of that. And then there was some talking that it's not the quickest thing in the world. And then that's when I think Simon had hinted at that earlier when he was on. is that they've actually got it artificially slowed down right now to leave them, enough overhead for whatever else they want to add to the game. So they actually have one where they've unlocked it a bit here speed-wise. I believe, is this the correct one? Might be this one here. Now, are you guys seeing this? Because I know sometimes when I do this, it screws up. Because Facebook and...
I'm not seeing any. Black screen.
Okay, yeah. So this is one of those places where it doesn't like me. Let's see. Maybe if I start playing it first. So you can see the smooth scrolling. It's a tiny little thing in the corner. I apologize, but you can see it's quite a bit faster when they unlock it. So it's artificially frame locked at about 10 frames per second on the big screen demo that you saw. So this was just to kind of show that, yeah, the engine's capable of going much faster, but they're kind of doing it with that slower frame rate to be able to add in sound effects and whatever logic they want in the game and anything else that's moving around. So that was to give like a bare minimum of what they want the final game engine to do for this particular game. So he's been giving progress updates, I think probably 4 times this past week. So we'll keep our monitoring his progress, and him and Paul, and hopefully we'll get them both on at some point here in the future show to kind of go over what exactly the game's going to end up being and some of the techniques they're using.
Yeah, you should see it at 60 frames a second. It goes completely mad.
Yeah, because I think that the one little video in the corner, that was 30, wasn't it?
It's 30, yes.
Yeah.
60 frames a second goes completely mad. And you have to think this is a 512 pixel HV in scroll with a complex background, with transparent sprite and scrolling and everything else.
Yeah, and you're running in 128K, which is impressive too.
The load footprint on that is 10K. Because it's tiled, right? And that's uncompressed. If I compressed it, the load footprint is 3K.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it, especially since you're actually targeting the 120K CoCo 3, which is something we haven't really seen lately. Most of the newer CoCo 3 games, whether it's from Nick or Chet or whoever, has been requiring 512K. And of course, now my Nitrous 9 Ease of Use stuff all requires 512K. So it's nice to see people targeting the entry level, which is probably one of the only types of CoCo 3s you can find on eBay these days at a semi-affordable price, because they've just been skyrocketing the last couple months. So
exactly, I thought I'd just target the lowest possible denominator.
Yeah, I mean the initial rush of CoCo 3 games back in 87, 88 were all 128K base, and then a couple years, 4 or 5 years later, they started bringing out some 512 ones as the upgrade became cheaper and more popular. But we haven't really seen that in lately. Everybody's been pushing the 512K, and there's even hints, like Chet might do something that requires a 2 meg upgrade or something.
The other thing is that this is not double buffered at all.
Yeah, you're just drawing it live on the screen while using the hard.
I'm drawing it live on the screen.
Yeah,
it's not double buffered at all, right? So you're scrolling 56K of screen, you're animating sprite and whatever. And I'm not double buffering, and it's all in 10K load.
Yeah, so you're timing the drawing of the sprite like with the VSync and stuff, so you don't get flicker and stuff.
Right now, yes, and the routines are tuned out of this world.
Okay, well, definitely we'd like to get you and Paul both on at some point when you guys get to a milestone part of it where you really want to show it off, and then we'd love to get both of you on to kind of talk about it.
Right now, I actually have wide movement as well. I've not shown it yet because I need to restrain it because he will wander off the screen. And I sent you a demo earlier where if you jump and you jump on the edge of the screen, he'll wander off the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have no restraint right now. But I've got him up and down and stuff like that. So right now I've got a tile screen going on. I just need to work out area map. Okay, what does this do? What does that do? Can you move there? Can you not move there? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
What
tiles you're allowed to walk over, what tiles you can't, etc. So
exactly.
Sorry, Ron, you said something?
Are you going to animate the liquid?
We can do, but it's not my first priority.
Yeah.
Anyway, definitely looking forward to it. So, yeah, like I said, if when you and Paul hit a real milestone one, we'd like to have you on as a team to discuss it.
Thank you. But I just, it's like I kind of, people were egging me on to, okay, you're doing demos, you're doing tech demos, stuff like that. When are you going to do a game? And it's like, I was bored out of my head. The other day, I was bored out of my head about 2 weeks ago. I was like, yeah, okay, let's just do a game.
Yeah, I have to do that too because I've had a few people bugging me to write a Basic 09 game just to kind of show what it can do too. So,
so peer pressure works.
Let's grab some tiles. These tiles, so everyone knows, are actually freeware tiles off the internet.
Oh, okay.
Okay, they're not drawn by me. I had to correct them to CoCo palettes. I had to do a tile engine. I had to do the scrolling and everything else. So it's not as if everything's free.
Okay, cool. But yeah, definitely keep us posted. I'll keep an eye out for it on Facebook. And like I said, when you guys get to a milestone thing with something you really want to show off and kind of discuss how you guys did it or whatever, I'd love to have you both on.
Anyone that thinks that's the only level there is kidding themselves because there are multiple levels with different tile sets.
Cool. Somebody else was saying,
what's this, sorry. What's this website you got the tiles from, Simon?
Twitch.io.
Twitch.io?
Twitch.io.
Twitch.io.
Twitch.io, yes. There are multiple artists on Twitch.io that provide tile sets, sprites, everything else. Some of them ask money for them. Some of them say, okay, this is free for your own projects. This is free for your own projects and commercial. Please do credit us. You can provide a donation to the people on Twitch.io. You know, there are a lot of talented artists out there.
Okay, cool. And then this is a follow-up. This is a separate post you did where you're actually showing how the mapping works. So each of those little horizontal lines you can see drawn through here, each one of those rectangular blocks is an 8K memory block.
One is one MMU slot.
Yeah.
But
and this is showing your entire 256 byte wide, virtual scrolling screen.
Exactly. But because the character can move from when he's jumping, if he's in the bottom, if you take like the second red line, he's on the bottom. So he's jumping up to the first. If you look at the first platform, like in the middle of the screen, jumping up to the blue diamond. So then he's at the top of that 8K slot. Yeah. So when he jumps, he's going to go to the bottom of the other 8K slot.
Yeah.
So you have to have 16K open just to be able to, because he jumps 16 pixels at a time.
Yeah, so you have to have at least 2 MMU blocks mapped in to be able to do any sort of
There's
graphics.
only 2 MMU blocks mapped in here, and for the actual tile plot itself, there's only 1 MMU block mapped in.
Okay.
Because I plot it in columns.
I got a question. Are you going to have any kind of lettering on here anywhere?
Yes, there's going to be an overlaid at the top or the bottom. I just need to work out where it is. There's going to be an overlaid score and overlaid, okay, you've got this, that, and the other. You've got your potions and stuff like that. It's going to be overlaid on top of it.
Okay, cool. Anyway, we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that, so keep us posted.
So, but yes, I am a demo guy, so this is new territory for me.
Yeah, and I'm not a low-level utility operating system guy, so whenever I do get to mine, no promises, I'll be going through the same experience trying to write a game for the first time in 30 years.
Because, but the demo stuff, you can use all these
tips and tricks.
Yeah, all the techniques and stuff.
You know, all this stuff you've gained in your head.
Yeah.
I got a quick question. I was looking at this, and you said that you're not doing double buffering?
No, not at all.
How much are you able to render before you start getting flickering?
Well, I'll tell you what. I put the sprite instead of the sprite where he is right now on the video. Yeah, he was on like the third tile line. Fourth tile line. And he was fine. So if I took him up to the very first tile line, like the top of the image, he would start flickering a little bit. But then I actually grabbed hold of later today. I grabbed hold of the backup restore routine for the sprite itself, and I twiddled it a bit, and I gained some 10, 20 cycles on each of those routines, which is stack blasting the fucker. Yeah, sorry to swear. They're stack blasting him back and forward with the background, and no flicker.
How many sprites can you? How many sprites can you get at the top of the screen before you start seeing flicker?
I don't know right now. Because we've not done the experiments. But again, it's a question of okay, which frame are you on? Because we are rendering like at 10 frames a second.
Right.
So okay, one frame you do this, one frame you do that, one frame you do that. Yeah.
So you're going to do staggered animations or staggered updates.
I think that would be the best move. You know, the way it works, I think it would be the best move.
Okay. Oh, we'll definitely be following the project, that's for sure. There's so much game development going on right now. I mean, Nick's got one, which is actually the next story. We're going to have an update. You've got yours, and I mean, both Chet and several Pauls have been working on various games over the last few months. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's really cool. It's probably the most energetic the game writing community on the CoCo's been in a decade, to be honest.
Yeah, but I just thought I should move away from demo stuff right now because people have been like goading me to do something else. I thought, okay, let's just do something else just for the fun of it, you know?
Yeah,
Because
plus it's a new experience too.
It's a learning experience for me.
Yeah. Like in my case, when I do get to my Basic 09 game, and I have no idea what that's even going to be yet. I mean, I did write some basic games with, maybe an ML subroutine back in the mid 80s, but I haven't really done anything since. So I'm very, very rusty. I might have to ask Nick to help me on that. Just for the game design part. And speaking of Nick, this is an updated video that Nick did for the International Computer Club last week, which kind of shows a bit of progress from the last videos that we've shown on here. So I thought I'd play it. It's about 5 minutes. Nick, do you think there's any part I should just skip to or play
all of it? No, it's
just skip to the end.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's all right. Yeah, just play what you want.
So then, I mean, you kind of talk through it and some of this background stuff we already know.
Yeah,
so
there's a little bit of
gameplay.
blurb there, but you can just show the game if you want. It's progressing. I've done a bit more since this video, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally it's going fairly smoothly, and it's getting close to completion. But completion's only part of the problem. I've then got to do some artworks, promote it, and all that sort of stuff before I can sell it.
Plus game testing, like Chet was mentioning earlier.
Game testing, quite a while. There'll be a fair bit of exactly. It does take a fair while to do the game testing, as Chet knows.
Gonna make room for that new Ferrari too.
Well, that's right. I need to order a bigger shoebox, but it's all right. That's coming. So, but yeah, it's coming along good. It's just a matter of game testing and getting the timing of everything right and making sure that everything plays correctly to give you the correct game experience.
I love the background.
Yeah, it's more of a rhythm as opposed to a tune, but
yeah,
it can play a tune. But I just like this rhythm so
no,
much.
this is good.
Well, this is kind of following along with Simon's doing. Like Simon and Paul are working on a game that they wanted to have the bare minimum CoCo 3, 128K, and this is one where you went for 16K CoCo 1 and 2.
I went for a really bare minimum.
Yeah, I mean the only place you can go under this is 4K. So
4K,
What about those
exactly.
4K guys?
Yeah, all of them. So 16K, TRS-80, Color Computer 1, 2, and 3. So
and Dragon 32 anyway.
well, I haven't tested that yet. I don't know. Like Simon said a couple of shows ago that the sound may not work on a Dragon 64. So I'm not making any promises yet.
Yeah, the Dragon 32 though, from what I understand, should work.
Well,
I think it has the
32
same-
apparently, yeah.
Which is the more common machine, from what I understand.
Yeah.
If 60's still in the chat, he can chime in whether that's true or not. I'm kind of guessing, but I think the 32
Yeah.
is much more popular.
I'll get a bit further and then I'll send it to someone with the Dragon 32 and 64 and we'll see if that.
And I don't
is the
think
case.
has anybody in CoCoTALK seen the game over screen? Because you got kind of animated scrolling.
Yeah, a little bit of a colourful game over screen.
You know, to really rub it in. It's kind of like Chet with his wisecracks in Digger 3.
Nick, that looks really, really, really stonking, mate.
It's.
I forgot to clap. You gotta clap during the song.
It is pretty good when you consider it's running on an old machine, the absolute oldest. So that was my goal. I wanted to make. As everyone knows, I'm a big critic of the CoCo 1 and 2. You know, I've always been the one who says I hate the graphics and all that. So this is to prove myself wrong.
Hey, look, I got high score.
Nick, Nick, tell me about that. Tell me about that. You know, proving something, proving a point. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah.
And in this case, proving it to yourself, like you said.
I'm trying to prove myself wrong. So
Looks great.
60 has chimed in the chat too. He said, that sounds right. The Dragon 64 switches off H-Sync interrupts during the PAL padding lines. No idea why, as the Dragon 32 managed to generate them just fine. So it sounds like it will work on the Dragon 32, but not on the 64.
yeah. So
weirdness.
So at this stage, I'm not saying anything about the Dragon. You know, I'll do the game for a CoCo, 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll test it and see. And as you say, it should work on a Dragon 32 or a Dragon 32 that's been upgraded to a 64, apparently. But on a genuine Dragon 64, it may not. The game will work.
The game will work, but the music wouldn't.
The music won't. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, live and learn.
Anyway, so that's another new game in development, just because we've already had a couple. Plus one that was just released. And speaking of, this is just kind of tying with Chet. He mentioned that it's up in the archive now, so you can actually download the Digger 3 zip file and documentation, which is a very well presented PDF with color and the whole bit. And then he's also put it up onto itch.io, and there he's got screenshots, and he's got the RGB version as well as the composite and TV display for the geriatric televisions, as well as the manual. So
you whippersnappers.
Yeah. Get off my lawn
with your RGB.
Yeah.
Get out of my ass. You have your composite version now. Leave me alone.
Geriatric version, you mean?
I'm gonna shoot you, boy.
Get out of my ass.
But anyway, it's nice because I mean I know Rob Inman's been pushing itch.io because it's a cross-platform distribution system, and you have games that are free, you can have games that you charge money for. They take a cut, but it's a pretty small cut from what I understand. Mm-hmm. So it's a good distribution platform if you don't want to have do like Nick Marentes doesn't take the time to set up your own thing. Of course, he'll make more money. That's why he's got Ferraris. But
I'm just a slow learner.
Whereas me, if I ever do get mine done, I'm lazy, so it'll go on here for sure. So
you're lazy.
And speaking of yet another new game that's in development, and Paul Thayer's got irons in the fire for at least 3 that I know of, but he had an update on CoCoBan or Ban. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. This weekend here, so. He said things are progressing slowly, but progressing on the new game of developing. Pushing the gems works great. Did some optimizations today. The keyboard input routines, which make it even faster. The beholder is chasing you, but improvements are needed in the chase code. And then my favorite part of his little post here is that shooting for the end of the year to get this released. The problem is life gets in the way. House improvements, teenagers, automobile maintenance, teenagers. Did I mention teenagers? Which I'm sure some of the people on the panel have had some experience with that. It gets a bit distracting. So that's one of, I'm trying to remember what he's got, his scrolling fighter game going on too. Plus he's got Downland 2. And he might even have another one or two, I can't remember. Next up is the
game.
Yeah. Next one up is Jim Gary has yet another Lunar Lander game. We just covered one last week, which was ported from Creative Computing, which was kind of the the instrument panel version of Lunar Lander. This one's actually based on the one on the Bally Astrocade, which is an early game system from around the Atari VCS era. So I'll play a little bit of that here. Fast forward a little bit. And that sound he gets in the MC10 is just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
The MC10 sound card, finally.
Did you get Jim to port that MIDI cart over to the MC10?
No, that's a 1-bit DAC.
Yeah, it's just a one bitter in the old 68 through controlling it. So it does have a timer interrupted, which is one nice thing. You can do some fancier stuff that way. But so that's his new contribution for the week here. He had a slow week. He only put out one. Next up, I won't play this because it was actually getting played during the Digger 3 Game On segment here, but Ken of Canadian Retro Things actually had the smart idea of kind of linking the regulars on CoCoTALK and then the regular CoCo community. Of course, with Septandy going on, we're getting a lot of people that aren't normally in our community producing videos, which is generating a lot of interest. Like we were mentioning the LGR video, which will come up in the regular news here, has actually got over 40,000 views already in the span of like days, which we never get. So that exposure helps. And what Ken did here is he actually linked to the hashtag Septandy. So his is actually showing up in searches for Septandy. And I think we should do that with some of our stuff too, just for this month in particular, to try to drag in some of the people that have been watching these videos, are not familiar with the CoCo, come and see the stuff that, the regular quote unquote CoCo community is doing. So I think that was a good idea. And I think we should start doing it with some of ours too. So Nick and others that here that have actually produced videos on YouTube this month with CoCo related subjects, put the Septandy tag in there so that it shows up in the searches up until the end of the month, and maybe we can pull in some of these 140,000 views. Yeah. You just see it on the tags here. So next up, we have Noriko, who's done a lot of adventure games on the CoCo with playthroughs. In this case here, she does the full, Zork start to finish on the CoCo version of it.
Welcome to our Let's Play of Zork 1 on the
And I don't know,
TRS-80
is that too loud compared to my voice?
Why
Or?
the CoCo? I mean, I just did a playthrough on the Model 1.
Because she goes a bit of a history of the CoCo
didn't
briefly for the people who hadn't seen that, but she also goes through the
to be
history
honest,
of
I would
Zork and
like
how
to
it was
say
based
I
on the
felt
original
the Model
game
1
and how the
playthrough
engine
was a
came
bit
about. So
rough, and
the
doing
first
it again
couple
on the
minutes is
CoCo
actually a
would allow
history
me
of the
to clean
Zork
it up,
development, which is
but
actually
that
quite
would
interesting
be a lie.
in and of
The
its own.
truth
And then
is,
she
I
actually
always
plays the
intended to
entire
do this.
game on the CoCo version for those who
And I
haven't
want
seen
to
it. This is
show
what it
you
looks like.
that this parser has more to it than just the ability to do one thing at a time. So
And she goes into some details too, where like that particular parse, like most adventure game parts of the time period, like the Scott Adams adventure, you do like open door and then or in this case, the open mailbox, get leaflet. If you know that the game has a leaflet in there, the Infocom engine actually lets you do open mailbox and get leaflet as one command line. It would actually stack the commands and then execute them in order. And there was a certain limit, I can't remember. It's like 3 or 4 commands in a row you can do in one big sentence, which for that time was actually quite unique. But yeah, she does a very good little history of the whole thing, and then actually plays the whole game start to finish. So if you've never solved Zork, here's your chance to see how on a CoCo. Next up, this is from a couple of people, and we've seen Brett kind of demo. He was on last week to talk about this new multiplayer online game he's doing for the CoCo 3. And he's got Jay Cyril is actually helping him with some of this stuff. So they've actually done their first development blog, and it's about, it's not the 42 minutes claimed here because the last 10, 15 minutes is just black. I think it just didn't get trimmed right. But they kind of go through some of the development and what they're doing on it. So let's see, fast forward here. A lot of the background, how they're setting up the networking, how they're setting it up using DriveWire, etc. How the loader works to set the server up for the actual game itself. And then they actually demonstrate a bit of the game here, so I'll just play a couple seconds of that.
This is where we'll have general messages from the server to game interaction message. Pretty much any messaging from the game is going to end up coming down here eventually. It's not there now, but that's the idea behind it. essentially the CoCo will send some information to the server will assemble a message and then send it back to the CoCo to get print it, unless it's a message that the CoCo can print directly, and then we'll do it that way.
So they get really into the nitty gritty, showing it. He shows them the status screens they're starting to design now too. So this is actually more advanced than the video we saw last week. But it sounds like they're going to be doing these regular developer blogs. So if you want to see how the progress in this game is going, how they're doing things, because they do an explanation of it and some of the utilities and tools they're using, how to set up the server, how to set up the CoCo, how the CoCo downloads the program itself from the server and then sends the tile maps and everything else forward too. And then they'll be getting into how the whole multiplayer aspect of it works. So it's very interesting, and I'm glad they're doing these blogs here because, I mean, multiplayer online has only been done a few times with modems. Way back in the past, we had P51 and checkers and chess and that kind of stuff, more turn-based stuff, except for P51. And this one actually is going beyond Brett's thermonuclear war, which was a multiplayer sneaking into IRC chats to send commands. This is actually a full-blown TCP/IP style client that's actually running through DriveWire. And maybe eventually even through the CoCo itself, we'll get some of the faster serial ports running properly with TCP/IP. So definitely a project to keep up. Another new game that's being worked on for the CoCo 3. So, and the final one I have for the game on here, this just showed up this morning. So Roger Taylor, who's doing the CoCo 3 core for the Mister, is demonstrating Digger 3 running the Mister. Now, I did notice he has a bit of a glitch, and a couple of us have mentioned this to Roger. I don't know if he's responded to it yet. But it actually is doing the loading text screen of all things wrong. The scrolling and stuff works fine on the graphics screen, but for some reason it's doing some weird duplication on the text screen when he fires it up here. But the game itself seems to play just fine. And he does just as badly as the rest of us did for the first time playing Digger 3. So, but here you can see it's kind of like doubling up the text. I'm not sure exactly why that was happening.
Wow.
So he's got a bit of a glitch there he's got to fix.
Uh-huh.
But the game itself seems to run fine. Now, I think we've probably seen enough Digger 3 for today, so I won't play the whole video or anything, but it's good to know that it's actually running on some of the hardware FPGA-based things too. So,
yeah,
and for those of you who've got the CoCo 3 engine on the Mister that Roger actually sells, I know Frodo and a few others in the chat here have actually got that too, and they seem to be pretty happy with it. And since that one actually will let you emulate at a hardware level a lot of systems, if you have limited desk space or you live in a small apartment or something, it's a good solution to get because then you can do a whole bunch of retro things all at the same time. You just switch which one you want to use that particular day type thing. And it's more of a hardware emulation, unlike MAME, which is software emulation. So it tends to be a little bit more accurate once the cores are fixed up because the timing and stuff is more explicitly tied to the hardware original of the CoCo versus trying to do it in software. And that is it for the Game On News segment. We do have some regular news coming up.
All right, let's take a commercial break and we'll go into the news.
Oh, yeah.
And I need to push these buttons.
Don't push them too hard.
We'll return after these announcements.
What's going on, everybody? The original gamer Stevie Stroh here, and I want to talk to you about I'mACoconut.com. If you love the color computer like I love the color computer, then you got to visit I'mACoconut.com, your one-stop shop for all of your Tandy color computer links needs. There you'll find links to blogs and podcasts and project sites and emulators and downloads and groups and communities. If you love the color computer, head on over to I'mACoconut.com. That's IMACoconut.com. Tell them the original gamer Stevie Stroh sent you. CoCo forever, people.
Hey there, it's Andrew here with the Tandy speech and sound cartridge that I won from CoCoTALK Live. So next up.
CoCo2's expandable, so easily commendable. It's programmable, so term exam grammable. Just you and CoCo to do what you want to do.
CoCo2, the color computer with personality from Radio Shack. Sale price for Christmas giving from $149.95.
Radio Shack's CoCo to do what you want to do. Just you and CoCo2.
A Boomerang Memory Board, BoysOnTech.com production.
They came for us in broad daylight. Hungry, wanting, More memory, they said. More power. Proper design at an affordable price. We took shelter. They were unstoppable. They're coming back for more.
In 2019, what goes around comes around. Boomerang 512 Classic, $15. 2 megabytes for $49. Available now. Boomerang Mania is real.
Hi, this is Antonio Jimenez, author of such projects such as the Stevie Throw Devil and the SD Pack, and you are watching CoCoTALK in 3, 2, go.
From around the world, what you need to know. Get caught up on News with L. Curtis Boyle.
And now a Muppet News Flash.
Welcome back, everyone.
Screen is yours.
Okie dokie. I just gotta find the right one. I got too many windows open. Is that the one I want?
Yeah, the whole commercial to get ready.
Always the last.
That wouldn't be CoCoTALK if I wasn't totally unprepared. Come on.
Fail.
I gotta figure out which one this is here. I got 2 Safari windows open. Which one is it? We'll guess and say this one, maybe. So what are you guys seeing there?
Brother Lang.
Some TVs need pin 10 in the VGA connected to sense the signal. And he had a VGA switcher in his drawer of stuff, so he connected it with the switcher, and then the switcher of the TV selected the appropriate port, and then it started working. So he put this up as a tip if anybody else is trying to use a Samsung TV with the CoCo VGA, and it's not displaying anything at all, but this might be the simple solution to solve it. So I don't know if that applies to anybody here or anybody listening, but if you do have a Samsung TV and you are having problems hooking the CoCo VGA up to it, I don't know if this will happen with the Gimme X, which also has a VGA support. So this might be a tip for them as well in the future when the CoCo or Gimme X is released. But there's a tip there to get that working. So thanks, Rutherford, for sharing that. Next up, Ed Snyder is, I haven't checked to see if it's sold out by now because this was posted 5 days ago, but he'd come up with another run of the CoCo 2 NTSC based composite video boards. He'd made another batch of them here. Now, from my understanding, these don't fit on a PAL machine. I don't know if anybody can verify that or not. And there's 2 types depending on what type of a CoCo 2 you have, because there's, the ones that have the RF can vertically up inside on the circuit board, and other ones have it horizontally. So he's got versions that'll work on both.
made versus CoCo, Korean made. So.
Yeah. So anyway, for those of you who've been waiting to get that, because that's been kind of out of stock for I think a couple months actually at this point, because Ed's got so many products that he has to keep catching up on orders on. So get them while they're hot if you need one type thing. And now we have the start of this week's Tandy, of which there's been a ton of releases of CoCo stuff, and all from people that have never had CoCos before. So sometimes their information is very accurate, sometimes it's not. The few times that I've been responding to some of them, I've tried to give them corrections or things to try. Sometimes that they've got things pretty well done. So the first one here is a person named Rebel Foxy, and I believe he's in the UK if I remember correctly. Presents his CoCo 264K. Now, he had a number of his facts wrong, but I've actually been contacting him through the YouTube comments, and he's actually planning on doing another video now that he knows some of this stuff, because he's young. He wasn't around for the original CoCo 2 stuff at all, and it's all new to him, and he just decided to take part in Tandy because he actually has a CoCo 264K. So I won't play them here because we've got a ton of these videos to go through, but the links will be posted here in the chat so that you guys can do it, and also eventually on the show notes here too. And some of these videos get fairly long too, so I mean there's literally hours of content to watch, and the show's already been going on for a couple of hours, so I don't want to extend this out and try to go for a record or anything. But definitely a lot of interesting stuff. So anyway, that's his first experience with the CoCo 264K that he has. The next one here, this was kind of interesting because another one of the Septandy ones is from Aaron Newcomb. Now, any of you who watch Twit, Aaron's been a guest on and a semi-regular on the Android show, all about Android, on This Week in Google. He occasionally guest stars on This Week in Tech, Floss Weekly, which is open source software. He's been one of the main hosts on there at times. And he started with a CoCo back in the day too, which I discovered on Twit, talking to him through the Twit chat. And the reason I noticed that is because he came on one of the shows a couple of years back, and he was wearing a Dungeons of Daggerath shirt. Now, unless you're a CoCo owner, you won't have a clue what the hell that is, or if you've read Ready Player One, not seen the movie. So this was just to show you what he looks like, and then kind of some of the shows he's been involved with on some of the biggest podcasts in the tech realm. But he actually did a breakdown of his CoCo One, and actually fixes it up. He was trying to do some
welcome to the Retro Hack Shack.
composite video mods. And he actually went back to RF because in his case, the RF looks better on his old CRTV than the composite.
As you might be able to
did.
tell from my T-shirt, we're going to be talking about the TRS-80 color computer. If you're familiar with these machines, you'll recognize the green screen. And behind me is a Color Computer 1.
Is that
I mean, like I said, I won't go
flashing?
play. Pardon me?
On his chest, the cursor's flashing.
And that was my very own first
Yeah, it's an
computer that
LED.
I ever used.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's also where I learned
okay.
basics and learned a lot of
And he has those
programming.
shirts available for orders. If you like that and you want a
Neat.
flashing cursor there with the multicolor LED, go ahead and order one.
Yeah, shut up and take my money.
He's also got his Daggerath shirts and stuff on sale too. Like if you scroll down, you can actually get the order links and stuff for it. But
cool.
No, I'm buying the disco cursor. Yeah.
So he goes through his CoCo One here, and then kind of explains the motherboard and what the chips are. He's pretty accurate on this stuff too, so I mean he does know his stuff. Then he goes and tries to fix the keyboard up because he had a couple issues with there. He kind of goes through some of the magazines where he got the composite video board, and then the end result though is that basically the composite board for him did not make the screen look better. It actually was slightly worse than the RF, so he went back to the RF. But he's planning on doing some follow-ups too. He's also got a CoCo 3, so I've been trying to contact him a little bit. I've talked a little bit with him back and forth in the YouTube chat, but since he's one of the bigger, more well-known tech podcasters, I really want to see if we can get him on the show. So I keep pestering him about that. Oop, what the heck? Oh, that just closed on me. Let me grab that again. So Canadian Retro Things, Ken, did a video here on the MC10 where he actually is using a CD player to load programs with.
These Septandy videos. Then I thought to myself, wait a second, I like Tandy stuff. As a matter of fact, the next few videos I have planned are Tandy videos, as well as the last few that I've done. So I guess this is my Septandy video, so welcome to my Septandy video.
And actually he's done a coup because he included Digger 3 with it too. But basically, he's been loading all of his stuff off cassette or, off an iPad, with the audio out port. And he decided to try using a CD, burning a CD. And he burned him at 22 kilohertz and at 44 kilohertz to see if it made much of a difference as far as reliability reading. And then he just, yanked out an old ghetto blaster with a CD player and put it on. And then it turned out it worked on both frequencies. So you can do it as 22 or 44. Because it's digital, it seems to keep the volume a lot more consistent than a cassette does. So we actually, had no problems loading stuff, and he loaded several games up and you're on a CD. And it's just the same, clode and headphone jack and away you go type thing. So.
Yeah, I'd actually like to make a comment on that video. A lot of people don't realize the CDs. The Red Book requires the audio to be at 44 kilohertz stereo 16-bit signed. So even his 22 kilohertz got upscaled when it got written to the CD. So
okay.
It didn't make any difference in the end. It was still 44 kilohertz.
Yeah, but I mean, he only had the quality of a 22 kilohertz to create that, and that still worked. So obviously it's not super fussy. Because upscaling it wouldn't be quite as accurate as a raw 44. Oh, yeah, this one is from Newsmaker Tech. Checking to find here. So we've actually covered this channel before. They did a unboxing of all 3 CoCos they did received. And now he's kind of going through in order. So he did a CoCo 1 video, and then he also did a CoCo 3 video, I think, a little bit later on.
Yes, we've heard your requests. We get asked to cover many computers our fans are nostalgic for, but the Tandy TRS-80 color computer is by far the most requested system we've ever had. And there's no better time to cover it than during Septandy, the month us computer geeks spend celebrating everyone's favorite computer and leather company, Tandy.
Now, I won't play the whole video. Like I said, there's a lot of videos to cover here, but the accuracy of the information he gave here is actually quite good. He actually goes back to Project Green Thumb and a lot of other things that a lot of people don't know. So I don't know if he's got a copy of the Boise and Bill book that he got some information, or if he just properly did his research. But it's actually a pretty good, interesting history of the CoCo 1, going through like the the various board revisions and the melted keyboard version, etc. Of course, he's got an original gray one here. But they're actually planning on doing videos on the entire series. So he also has a video on the CoCo 2 that they did later on too, which is probably the one I accidentally closed. Oh no, here it is. I think, yeah. So I'll just fast forward a little bit here.
It's as kitsch as
and they'll be doing a CoCo 3 one that hasn't been released
were
yet.
sometimes marketed as new improved models, but most of the time you'd have no idea, say, which specific motherboard revision you had. Smaller sizes, the biggest change with the CoCo 2 was the major reduction in size, with the new system being about 30% smaller than the old.
All right, he goes through that too. Now, one thing I will mention, he figures the aesthetics of the original CoCo 1 he much prefers. He prefers the silver gray because everything went beige in late 80s. So it got boring because every single PC looked the same. I wanted to ask people on the panel here, do you guys feel the same way? Did the beige standard color that everybody was using for like the CoCo 2, the CoCo 3, and then PCs and everything else was going beige? Do you have the same feelings he does, where the more retro silver look of the original TRS-80s and the original CoCo is actually more aesthetically pleasing to the eye than all the beige stuff that came afterwards? I'm just wondering what the opinions of the panel is on that.
I say the CoCo's more white. The CoCo 2's more white than beige, though. Like when I think of the beige box,
whitish, I guess I should say, in the white direction from silver.
Let's go the wrong direction.
I like the hammered gray of the 50s.
Well, for me, of course, I guess, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I prefer the darker colors because, especially if you lived in a household where you had family members that smoked, darker colors hid tar building up on the machine, where eggshell colored machine would really show off the tar building up on it.
That's like not buying a white car. It's like buying a dark colored car so you don't have to wash it as much.
Well, interesting factoid, I have test equipment on my bench from the old days that is actually stained brown so that cigarette stains won't show on it.
You mean you restained it brown on purpose?
No, it comes from the factory noticeably browned over already, even behind the lens, the gauge covers and so forth, so that nicotine stains won't show on it. It was intentional. If you ever see a shot of my bench, you'll see a couple of old frequency counters and so forth that are brown, and they started that way. They didn't age that way. That's what they did.
Oh, wow.
The silver's got that classic TRS-80 color and style to it, the retro, because it matches more the TRS-80 Model 1s and 3s and all that. The problem with the silver that I have is the fact that it doesn't stay silver for long. After a while, it wears out on the front, it scratches. So, as for longevity, I prefer the white.
That's a good point, because the original CoCo 1s, depending on what age your plastic was, like if you got the first models, it was a black, which actually looked pretty darn good on its own, to be honest.
Yeah,
except
it
never
was
wore
all
off
black.
evenly.
But it was black in the front and silver everywhere else, and it looked wrong. So, but yeah, the old one's got that nostalgia look to it.
And any other opinions from the panel?
I'll voice my opinion for what it's worth. I mean, I didn't have any of the TRS-80 model 1, 2, 3, 4. Didn't have any of that stuff. Didn't have a CoCo 1. Started out with a CoCo 2, so I prefer the beige-ish. It just looks better to me, but that's just because I didn't have the other ones, I guess.
Well, in
Yeah,
the
I'm
case,
the same way.
the case,
I went with a CoCo 2, and it was beige, and that's what I prefer.
I mean, you've got to admit the case
keyboard is
color's
awful.
indestructible. The keyboard's indestructible. You'll never lose the logos off the keys. The brake key's always going to be red. They just, what it is always what it is. I like that.
Yeah, well, they clean up okay after 40 years, right? Usually when people get
Still,
one, they
yeah.
can.
Yeah, you
can
can't
still clean
retrobite
up.
the silver one.
Matter of
Really?
opinion. I mean that chiclet keyboard was so awful. There was at least 2 different aftermarket ones available, even back in the day. So, but I mean, I have a couple CoCo ones. I have them. I powered them on. Yeah, they work, and they just kind of go off on a shelf because I just have no interest in using it, that huge thing with that lousy keyboard. Although I do have one with an aftermarket keyboard, but something's happened over the years and it's a little unstable. I do need to go in there and shore it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, some of the aftermarket keyboards like the HDL and the Mark Data products, in particular for me, 2 that I've used here with other friends that had those, they were actually better than the CoCo 3 keyboard, to be honest. So, I mean, the keyboard for me wasn't an issue if you had a third-party one added in, one of the decent ones. But
I believe
yeah, the
that's what I have.
bulk of the gray one, the size is more what I prefer on the CoCo 2. I like the silver look, and I like the black look if you have the older plastic and it's rubbing off, like if it was completely black, like Ron I think cheated and painted his, but the black actually looks pretty good too. But yeah, I think like people were mentioning, like the fading of the paint on the silver meant it kind of looked like it was used and soiled or something. It didn't look right. Whereas these ones, I mean, they yellow, but you can retrobite them and fix it up pretty easily, and then you've got a nice, clean, consistent case. And your keys are all the same type thing too. Whereas the silver was a paint; it wore off, so it doesn't last as long. It doesn't seem to.
The venting's probably better on the CoCo 2 as well. There's a lot more venting.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys
Because on the
think of
CoCo 1,
white-
they were just along the sides, right? Little vents along the sides.
Yeah, that's on the yeah.
Well,
Go ahead,
what do you
Ron.
think? What do you think of the white ones that are in the original CoCo 2 size, but they're white?
They're not too bad.
The
Yeah,
CoCo
to me,
1.
it looks
You mean
wrong
CoCo 1
because
size.
yeah, to me it looks wrong because that shape is to me is synonymous with the old silver one, and I look at the white one, I think, oh, okay, this is wrong.
I like that one because a friend of mine got the 64K CoCo 1, which is the full-size CoCo 1 case, but in the white color. And it actually has a badge that says 64K color computer on it. And it was the first experience with a melted keyboard, which I quite liked at the time. And he was, playing Sailor Man or whatever else on it. But I kind of liked it. I couldn't afford it at the
Still
time.
do.
It was
I
great.
still like the melted.
Go ahead, Chet.
What I started with.
I loved mine. I mean, that was the first CoCo that I had. So I mean, it was a fantastic machine. And you could bludgeon your siblings with it too. So.
It might be because I grew up on this, but the keyboard pictured right now, the full travel CoCo 2/3 keyboard, that's the best cheap computer keyboard I ever had.
I agree.
Bar none.
I agree. Yeah, because they're third-party ones. I mean, they were started like $69, $79. So
yeah,
right. The whole computer was 150. What do you want?
We got a comment from Canadian Retro Things in the chat too. He says he prefers the red Alice computers. So if you're in France and you get one of the Alices, and the Dragon kind of was more of a yellowed plastic to begin with, wasn't it? Wasn't it stock more yellowishy?
Yes.
I know their keyboards were good, but
I do like the badge that on the one that you're showing now. I do prefer that badge, that logo, the Radio Shack lettering, the red green. I prefer that over the newer.
The Tandy one with the slashed colors.
The Tandy with the slash. I do prefer that classic. It had that classic look, and to me, it just looks a bit better. But yeah.
So, what do you think of the TDP?
What does the
Not
TDP look like?
A CoCo 1.
The TDP is basically a CoCo 1, but I think it's a different color. It's more along the beige line too.
Yeah. It's
There it
not too
is.
bad. Yeah, yeah, it's not bad.
I'm gonna paint on mine flat black. Just be done with it.
That's pretty well what Ron did, I think, with one of his, didn't he?
Yeah, I was a CoCo 2 I did it with.
Yeah.
Maybe stick some LEDs under the top grill there. Make it all fancy and stuff.
Ooh,
like
tricolor LEDs in the Radio Shack logo.
Yeah, I bet I get like a good like half a megahertz out of that.
Yeah.
We'll have to put it on the Gimme X.
Yeah.
60 mentions too that he said the 32 Dragon 32 is more yellowy plastic, while the 64 is more grayish plastic. So there was a color change between the two.
There was a color change.
Yeah, it's a bit jaundice.
Actually, most of these beige ones are a bit jaundiced when you dig them out after 40 years.
Brush your coat.
Well, the last PAL one, they don't go yellow. They stay white because they've changed the type of plastic they used in making it, and they never yellow.
What numbers are they?
Hang on, I'll have to lift mine up and see. If I can, with all the wires on the back, I can't.
Put your phone
Well,
under there.
while you're looking there, Nick, I was going to mention my favorite badge is the one that says 2 mega RAM on it, one of the newer ones. That's what I like.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Let's see. 263334. I've got on this one.
There you go.
Now, is that a
Is
PAL
that-
or an NTSC one you're looking at, Nick?
It's a PAL one.
And that's not the PAL one with the NTSC motherboard in it, is it?
Well, yeah, it is actually, but
Okay.
I'm talking about the case.
Right.
Your
right.
CoCo
So-
may be a pal, but mine's a buddy.
Anyway, like I mentioned, they've completed on this channel. They've completed the CoCo 1 look through in history, and they've done the CoCo 2 look through in history. And like I said, he's done his research. He's got a lot of facts that are not general knowledge. You'll notice some of the other ones are like they have no knowledge of the CoCo at all, so they're just guessing at stuff or what they read on one particular web page or something like that. So he seems to be fairly thorough, and I'm looking forward to see what he says about the CoCo 3 when that comes up.
You know, the view of that CoCo in the box makes you excited. It's like, I want to get that out of there.
Yeah, it's like box opening day type thing.
Yeah.
Like it's 1983, buddy.
Yeah.
Next up, this is AC's 8-Bit Zone, and he's done a couple of ones, and I've been in contact with him on a few things too. So he's released a couple of videos this past week, and I think we covered one of his earlier ones too. So he does some CoCo 2 repairs and composite video. So we've got a few people doing the composite video upgrade, so I won't play that in particular. And then he did kind of a challenge to himself because he had a CoCo 2 back in the day, and then between moving and stuff, he started to collect them about 20 years ago. But then he ended up moving, and he stored everything, and he hasn't taken it out till now. It's like literally 20 years. His entire CoCo collection has been boxed up, which is CoCo 2s, 3s, 1s, peripherals, software. We covered one of his earlier videos where he kind of went through that. So he decided as a challenge to himself and to the viewers of his channel, he's going to take his 5 CoCo 2s he's got. Now he's got 3 of the Radio Shack branded, 2 with melded keyboards, 1 with the full travel. And he's got 2 of the Tandy branded ones. And you can kind of see the difference color of the case there too. And he was kind of making a bet with himself, well, how many of these will actually work, not being touched in 20 years? And he also said, a challenge to the viewer was, make a guess before you start the video. And then at the end, send him a message saying, what was your guess? And then, and what was the actual final result, obviously, at the end of the video here. So before I tell you guys what happened here, for those who've not seen this video, what do you think his track record was as far as getting all 5 of these running out of the box after 20 years? Just plugging them in and seeing if they work.
100%.
Yep.
I'd say 4.
Maybe the 3 might not have worked without reseating the gimme.
Slam it on the table. It'd be fine.
Yeah, that's
now,
right.
I will mention one thing. I don't know if you guys saw it in the video here, but if you look at the left stack, the Radio Shack branded ones, the very bottom one's already missing the space bar. It was pretty beat up on the case. I'll just mention that.
Oh, yeah.
Still gonna work.
Yeah, those pop off.
I saw the video, so I can't play.
They all work. Every single one of those things worked.
Ron, you're disqualified.
Yeah.
Well, most of you are right. All 5 of them did boot up. Now, 2 of them powered up with gray screens. Now, he did end up just doing some minor tweaks to get that to work. But the video signal was coming through. Just the color signal wasn't coming through. But 3 of them came up in full color, too. So, they all work. The keyboard works, even on the one that's all banged and beat up. So he was quite impressed, and I think a lot of us know that, you know, and this is something he said, you know, on the Commodore world that doesn't happen as often. Like they do tend to die a bit more often, but CoCos were built like tanks.
Well,
they were meant to be beaten in the education market by kids, so they built them to last.
Well, C64 is like cheap and disposable.
Yeah.
Well, Curtis, one of the things that I found out from even having my Commodores, the MOS chips, even when they're not used, decay. So they, you know, you put them in storage 20 years later, if it worked, it may not. Like what happened with mine, where the PLA and the ROMs were just dead.
Yeah, and I've never had that problem. Like the only time I've had a CoCo 1 or 2 or 3 fail is due to, you know, my CoCo 1, for example, it died when I moved from the apartment to the house back in whatever year that was, 92 or whatever it was. But that was because on the moving truck, the CoCo fell like 6 feet and then hit, you know, a metal floor, and it actually cracked the circuit board. So obviously there's, you know, not much can be done after that. But
yeah, of the 20 some that I've had, I've never had one fail. The only one I had fail was a CoCo 3, and one of the blue colors went away. And it turns out it was a transistor, which, you know, got fixed easily.
Yeah. I've had like cables break, like the RGB cables got, you know, pinched and it snapped a wire inside, so something like that I've had happen. But yeah, they're tanks. I mean, and compared to a lot of the other 8-bit machines at the time, I think the CoCos actually do last longer than most of them.
Well, you know, Motorola used to be a quality thing, and it shows.
Yeah. Well, even Radio Shack themselves, I mean, the cases, the keyboards, etc. I mean, a lot of that stuff actually does keep working.
What else can you tell us, David Ladd, about MOS technology going away? How does that happen?
Because Jack Tramiel was real cheap. Cut corners wherever he could.
Oh, he's very
seriously.
cheap.
Well, MOS was the cost cut.
C6. Yeah.
I mean, the 6502 was a cost cutter of the 6800, so, you know, where did they cut it?
Yep.
Well, you also got to think of any contaminants that might have gotten into the dies during manufacturing. You know, actually, Jim Brain would probably be a better person to answer that question, since he's on the tech side, and he works with those machines all the time. So, but yeah, it's is
it like EPROMs where you keep you know, clearing them and write to them and clear them, and then they eventually wear out? Or
well, even an EPROM over time will lose its information, because I've had some EPROMs that have slowly corrupted over time. Same with floppy disks. You know, the Earth is one big magnet. So with the electromagnetic shield around us, so you know, the flux data slowly gets wiped out over time. So
reaches equilibrium.
Well, I've got a disto controller with 4 ROMs in there, and they're all EPROMs. You know, they were burned. And should I expect those to go soon? Or, I mean, I've had it since 83 or 4.
Well, if you're worried about it, I would probably keep a copy of those ROMs, so that way someone could reburn you one if you need it later. But
this is the days of copy everything. Put it on an SD card somewhere. You can always get it back.
Now, one thing I wanted to show here, just a brief screenshot of this particular part of the clip. That one that had the banged up keyboard, the one missing the space bar. Right. Like when he ordered this, it was actually meant as a parts CoCo, and it was actually just shipped in a USPS priority mail box. There was no packing or stuffing or anything. Because with the missing key and everything else, the guy thought it just doesn't work.
No, and he thought ahead.
Yeah, so he got this for $10. Which, if you look at current CoCo 2 prices, especially CoCo 3 prices, that's dirt cheap for a working one. I mean, it's missing a space bar, but that's the only thing wrong with it. It powered up just fine.
Shipping's more than that.
Yeah, you can find somebody to print you a space bar.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the one thing that you think about is that if that's all that's wrong with it, as far as the keyboard, you could stick Ed Snyder's keyboard in the CoCo 2, or stick Ed Snyder's keyboard in a CoCo 3 and take the CoCo 3's keyboard and stick it in the CoCo 2.
That's what I did.
So,
I moved my CoCo 3 keyboard to my CoCo 1 because my CoCo 1 chiclet had actually had some, the traces are gone on that Mylar crap. And I didn't feel like we're trying to repaint them or reconnect them. So I just, since I was planning on ordering an Ed Snyder keyboard anyway, I just ordered that and I swapped my CoCo 3 keyboard into my CoCo 1 and it's back up and running fine.
You should,
but I mean, just shipping this, you hear horror stories all the time. Somebody, shipped like a Model 2 or something like that, didn't pack it properly, and then you get this shattered mess, when you receive it. And this guy, got one that was damaged to begin with, just threw it in a box, shipped it off, and it still worked. So, I mean, the CoCo's tough.
Curtis, you should take a picture of your CoCo 1 with that keyboard in it.
It's sitting right beside me, actually.
Seen one.
That's my one with like CoCo VGA in it.
See what it looks like.
Asparagus.
Lasagna?
Oh, asparagus. Is that one of the things they're serving on the picnic? Is that what you mean, Jason?
You know what I mean.
And here the Retro channel did their little heavily modded. Now, we played one of his earlier videos, too. And he had two CoCo 1s side by side. So he had one that was basically a stock CoCo 1. I think it was an F board. And then he had another one, which is a heavily modified. It's got an HDL57 keyboard. It's got an LED power light. It's got 3 switches that were tucked underneath on the side. So he decided to explore into here to see exactly what the heck was in this thing. So there you can see the LED on the right-hand side. You can see the HDL57 keyboard, which is still, I think, my favorite out of all the third market ones that came out back in the day. And then he kind of goes through. Now you can see the case has been a bit modified there to hack. And it's actually got a special adapter for the RF, or not the RF, for the composite out that comes out with the sound and the video line there. And originally the person had these mounted, as you can see, where that hole's cut. They originally had it mounted there, and then for some reason they rejiggered it through the reset button instead and left the gaping hole. And then you can see on the left-hand side the 3 switches that are kind of under the edge there below the cartridge slot. And the guy that does this video here, I mean, he got this from somebody else with no details from the guy whatsoever what any of this stuff did. So we had to kind of go through and figure it out on his own. So he takes it apart.
Was he able?
For the most part, yeah. So here you can see the insides.
Wow.
Now, for you hardware types out here, can you guys recognize what some of this additional stuff would be doing?
That up there's the lowercase kit.
Right.
Lowercase
mod.
Now, is that the official Dennis Bathory kit screen mount micro one?
That no I don't know, but I recognize the design because I have Ed's lowercase kit.
It's got a 6847 and it's got a ROM on the same board, so it's kind of
obvious. Yeah,
makes sense that it would be something that only the 6847 can access.
And it probably also has a switch for inverse video as well, I'd say.
Correct.
Yeah. That mod does, yes.
Yeah. So the switches he's got in there, one of them is the inverse video mod that we just mentioned. The other one is to switch between the internal ROM on the VDG and the external ROM,
right? Which
has that expanded lowercase character set that's also taller and wider characters than the standard one. And it's taller and wider than the lowercase we have on the CoCo 2B and on the CoCo 3. So that's 2 of the switches. The other one, he can't quite figure out for sure what it is. And honestly, it's not one I've seen before, but I think it's to change the phase shift for artifact colors so it's controllable. Because when he flicks it, I don't know if you guys remember this on the original CoCo 1 and 2, but you could tell by the thickness of the characters when they showed up. Like if you had a thin one, it was a certain artifact. And if you have a thick black for your text characters, then it was the other artifact. And I used to use that to pre-boot the machine hitting reset so I'd get the controllable colors. And when he flicks that switch, it seems to switch between those 2. So basically this switch controls the phasing so you can guarantee your artifact colors like we can on the CoCo 3.
Cool.
That would be actually a cool mod.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one I had not seen before. I've seen some other mods that are not on this video. Like I've seen a RAM write protect switch for upper 32K of RAM, and that was used to put cartridges that self-modified, like some of Steve's and a few others, that if you didn't want to feel like having to go through and disassemble and figure out the whole thing and patch it to work, you would just load it in, hit the switch so it can't write to itself, exec the program, and then it would just run just hunky-dory fine. So that was one I remember seeing.
That was such a nice cheat, too.
Yeah, it was. Saved a hell of a lot of time. I remember I spent days trying to fix Reactoid for all games. because it was self-modifying like crazy, and finally I just gave up and then got the switch installed. Oh, I don't have to do this anymore.
Do you guys remember 128K the easy way?
Yeah.
I had that installed in my Model 1, and I had a program to store 32K banks of programs, and just don't turn it off.
I built the circuit board without the RAM and never had the money for the RAM. So.
Oh, what's that thing on the left? Did
The
he
one
have
that's taped
a?
up?
That's the video outputs on the lower
Yeah,
left.
that's the composite and audio jacks coming out.
And some more wire.
So he's also got video
composite
video
out as
on
well
there.
as the 3 switches you can see in the upper left there, and the LED you can see in the very far upper left. It's a pretty good hacker's machine. I mean, this is one thing I remember. A ton of the CoCo people in our local club, which at the time had like 80, 90 members, I'd say at least a third of them had hack jobs like this in all of their CoCos.
Yep.
So the CoCo always was a hobbyist hardware hacker's dream. And I did not see this. Like, I did attend a few meetings from friends that had TIs and Commodores, and I didn't see the prevalence of this type of thing on any other platform but the CoCo for some reason. And I think we've talked about that before. The CoCo definitely seemed to be a hardware hacker's dream. I don't know if that's because it came from Radio Shack and you always went to Radio Shack for parts, so that was kind of the mentality you had to go there in the first place, or if it was just an easier machine to hack on. You guys that are hardware can tell me that.
Yeah, you also had the regular column in CoCo magazines for Turn of the Screw and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, as opposed to TI, where you couldn't even write programs on your own computer unless you bought a development system. Forget hardware. So,
I've seen some Commodore 64s that have a few mods, from back in the day, but I don't think it was as prevalent.
Well, and again,
was it easier to hack a CoCo compared to some of the other machines for the machine? For those of you that experience doing hardware on both or multiple systems, is it easier to do in a CoCo?
I'll come back to that. The CoCo was very heavily the Motorola design spec machine, and you could just beat the living out of it. Where a lot of like the C64 was pretty much already beat the living out of, and you couldn't really do much to it without breaking it. Is in my experience.
You were asking about the MOS chips or whatever. It's like the 6502 was great, and if you go over to the Western Design 65C02, it's great. But the PLA and these other chips that they designed, if you listen to some of the YouTube videos, Bill Hurd talks about working on new machines and having Commodore employees steal chips out of the machine he's working on to fix their own machines around Commodore. And he had to order chips from Moss, which I guess was in the same building, so he had a couple tubes of these chips that were flaky in the first generation and on his desk, so people wouldn't steal stuff out of his computer he was working on. It's just whoever laid it out, didn't do as good a design.
Okay. Anyway, I just thought it was really cool that he has this. He has a fairly stock CoCo one, and then he has this complete, homemade hacker's dream type thing with all these different mods and lowercase kits and custom wiring and LEDs and everything else. And that reminded me of club days back here in the early 80s, because we had so many people doing this kind of stuff, and everybody was sharing their designs or helping install for us younger kids that didn't have any electronics experience. Because I was getting my stacked RAM upgrades because it was cheaper than buying 64K chips at the time, and inverse video switches and stuff added to mine too, which I had no idea how to do myself. I mean, I'm the guy who solders his hair, for God's sake. So it was nice having this plethora of people that actually would be able to do these types of things and design these types of circuits. They didn't even need the magazines. They would just look at the circuit diagram and go, "Oh, I can do this," and just do it type thing. And I think that was more prevalent in the CoCo community than almost any other 8-bit community, from what I remember seeing.
I'm surprised at the number of front reset switches and stuff like that I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, it's a very interesting
idea.
video, and he's actually got CoCo 3s and stuff too. So there's more videos from him coming out as well too. So we'll see what he's got for CoCo 3 stuff later on.
Well, if you check out this.
Oh, good. Sorry, did I close it too fast?
Oh, I was just going to say in the previous picture, the CoCo actually built in a recess for hidden toggle switches, which, is key
on the side there.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I never thought of that before, but yeah, you're right. Definitely designed for hackers then.
Yeah, I have a CoCo 2 that has switches there on that square area or rectangular area.
Next up, I'm part of Tandy as well. Like I said, we got a ton of these. So this is the one that's probably the most famous because this is LGR, which is a huge channel that has a viewership that rivals the 8-bit guy. He's got over 1 million, subscribers type thing. And as of, when I loaded it this morning, before the show started, there was already 136,000 views of a CoCo video in the span of a few days. Like one and a half, basically. So that's a good plug for the CoCo in general. So he kind of goes through and
it was all about the color being the first from Canadian Recycling and sending it over. By the way, I've always wanted one of these and have somehow never run across one here, at least not in person. They're not rare machines.
He hooks it up to a TV, and he actually gets a pretty good
on
signal
what you
out of
could
it, too.
use. One might also choose to
booted
run
09, so
Microware
I'm
OS
sold
9
now.
Level 1, and while that offered some
you
impressive
go, Nick.
flexibility and multi-user stuff, that became more of a thing on later CoCos. So
Now, he has mentioned he is planning on doing a CoCo 3 video as well, because he has one, but he's also planning on doing an OS 9 video separate, because he said there's enough interesting things there that he doesn't think mixing it with an existing video would give it enough detail. So obviously I'm looking forward to that, but I think we should definitely see if we can try to get him on the show too. I mean, we've had the 8-bit guy already, so we need some of these other people that do a lot of these retro type stuff, but have a large audience, and try to get them so they can kind of quote unquote sell the CoCo to the wider retro audience. Like
yeah, I mentioned CoCoTALK in my reply to the video.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Curtis. Yeah, Curtis, I met him last year at VCF Midwest, and he seems to be a very nice guy. So
he'll never want to be on our show then, right?
well, just don't let him talk to Stevie then.
So yeah, it's a very good video, and there is some more stuff coming from him as well. Like I said, the CoCo 3, he's planning on doing an OS 9 one. Now, he hasn't given I don't know if the OS 9 one's going to be part of the Septandy thing. That might be a later, after the Septandy thing's over. But the CoCo 3 one is supposed to be out before the end of the Septandy, so the end of September, basically. So I'm looking forward to that one, too. Next up is from a fellow Australian there of Nick's. And we've had him...
G'day guys,
videos on the
and
channel
welcome to
before, too.
Retrospect Reviews. I'm Vince, and today we're going to have a quick look at the CoCo SDC by the Zipper Zone.
And he keeps calling it Zipper Zone, though he spells it right. I thought that was funny. And basically, he gave me a plug in the video, too, because he mentions that I was the one that suggested he should get a CoCo SDC for his CoCo 3 and his CoCo 1. And he mentioned me, my name is suggesting it, and he's quite happy with it. He goes through the SDC Explorer and a few other things, too. Now, currently, he's only got... Go ahead, what, sorry, that?
So no lawsuit in your future.
Yeah, hopefully not. So he goes through basically what the SDC is, how it works, what it does, emulating floppy drives, etc. Mentions the fact that it works on the Dragon as well. He ordered his with a case, which he shows off here as well. Now, one thing he did mention is he in the chat comments afterwards, when I've been talking back and forth with him, is he only got 128K, and he's got eyesight issues now that he can't solder as well as he used to. Now, I'm not sure where in Australia he's located, but he would definitely be interested in getting a 512K upgrade or even a 2 meg at some point. Now, obviously, the 512 doesn't need any soldering, so that one he could do pretty well on his own. But if he wanted to jump to the 2 meg, how widespread is hardware hacker skills in Australia, Nick, that you know of? I don't know you, David O'Connor, and a few others can probably do it. But are they fairly widespread no matter what? Or?
Yeah, I only know of David O'Connor or that...
Ian, maybe?
Ian Maverick, yeah. But, yeah, there may be more, but, yeah, I haven't heard of him.
Okay. Because I'm going to try to see if I have to find out where in Australia he is first. But if he's close by one of the other guys, if he orders a 2 meg board and he can get the help in getting it soldered in, I think he would quite like that. So But it's a nice review of the CoCo SDC and the SDC Explorer too, as well. So, and also part of the Septandy, of course. Yet another Septandy video, and this is from our friend in Spain, originally from Ireland. 8-Bits in the Basement. He's the one who came on our show with the SCART CoCo, if you guys remember that, from France. So here he goes and he explains on how to hook up a digital joystick using a board that he made to the CoCo. But he goes through a lot of good explanation and then very well, he gets into some technical things, but he does it in a very easy to understand way, like I understood it, and I don't know squat about hardware. But he goes through the differences between analog and digital, and then he explains the chip he used to actually get this to work and how the voltages work, and then explains, for people that are only familiar with digital sticks, what's the difference with analog, how it does the various voltages, etc. So he does like hand-drawn diagrams, and he demonstrates some, games and things that are actually done that highlight, like he did Caterpillar Attack, for example, because it needs the analog stick, because your position is based on the 0 to 63. It's not just, if it's less than 31, move left. It's like position 5 is position 5 on the screen. So he kind of explains, how the games are different between them. And here he's doing a description of how the voltages, and he did a simplified version with only 5 steps instead of 64. How the voltages work between the potentiometers, and kind of explains, how that works. And he explains how digital sticks work. Does some, actual setting up here, shows you how the joysticks actually get read on the CoCo itself. And then he does his little homemade circuit here where he's hooking up a DB9 to this little circuit he did, then off to the CoCo type thing, and explains exactly how the voltage divider works and the chip number used, etc. So for a good beginner's hardware project for the people that do want to learn, at a fairly entry level, this is a great project, and he does full explanations of what he did to do it here. So quite a good video. I quite enjoyed it. I'm not one that normally does much with hardware. Okay, so that's the September Tandy ones for this week, and there's more coming for the next couple weeks too. So definitely keep an eye on that.
Wow.
This one here, go ahead.
I just said, wow, that's a lot. There's a lot of exposure for the CoCo this year. That's great.
Yeah. This next one is quite interesting. John Evans. Now, this is kind of vaguely related with Stevie. Like Stevie got the Exerciser system, which is a development system for Motorola-based CPUs, and that was a find. Chet had a really good quote on how he reacted to it. I'm trying to remember what he said. It was perverted in some way, but
yeah, sorry.
I wish I could remember.
Yeah, for those of you who did read it, there is no translation there, son.
Yeah. Something about boner material, I believe. But anyway.
Yep.
So this is kind of along the same lines, because this is another early development system that was done through a university. The Cleveland Institute of Electronics. So they had their own MTL1 microprocessor trainer, which was a set of hardware with a 6809. It had a little built-in small ROM, a 4K ROM with CIE bug, as it was called. 2K of RAM, which you could expand up to 4K. Woohoo! Plus the manual, which I'll show shortly here. And then it was not a full keyboard computer. It was like a hex keypad for entry and 8-digit LED display. So it was really meant to learn the electronic side of things and a little bit of the programming side of things as well. It did have an expansion port, so you could add like an extra keyboard or video, etc. So we actually uploaded
the Kim one for the 6502.
Yeah, similar. Yeah. So we actually uploaded the manual for this with his awesome line printer fonts we had back in the day. And there you can see it's the Cleveland Institute of Electronics. Skip the page. I don't even know if that Technology Institute's still around or not. But it goes through like some of the monitor commands, so how do you do that type of thing, and then goes into all the other aspects of the hardware and the software. Runs at the same speed as the CoCo 1 did at 0.895 kilohertz. Of course, the FCC thing goes into a bit of how to actually work the monitor itself. But it's actually it's one of those historical development systems for learning 6809, learning 6809 system design from the hardware level too. So in the span of a week, we've had the Exerciser that Stevie's got, plus this one. So 2 of the original style development systems. Now, this particular one here is actually a later one. I think this one is from 83 or 4 or 5 even, maybe. Like, it's a fairly late model of this type of thing. But it's based on a design that was out, basically when the 609 itself got released. So for those of you like the historical, how the development and how the development systems were built at the very beginning of the 6809's run, this combined with what Stevie has is actually giving you pretty good coverage on that. So it's a fairly interesting historical document, and I think well worth downloading and taking a look at, especially if you're interested in the exerciser that Stevie has as well.
Yep.
Next up, Chris Burke, speaking of older hardware, got a CoCo 3. Now, of course, Chris Burke is from Burke & Burke, who did the XT hard drive that interfaced PC XT hard drives to the CoCo. That same interface, he actually had demoed a Logitech ScanMan reader. He also did a ton of software. He did RSP, which Rob Inman's a huge fan of. He did the port of the Cyrus Chess, which is now included on EOU, and a ton of other things. He was also the one who was doing the 68,340 update board, but we didn't get enough people because at that time the CoCo market was dying out. This was after Radio Shack discontinued it in the mid-90s, and he didn't get enough people. But I think he's actually planning on releasing the schematic for that because he actually had it basically working. He just couldn't get enough funds to warrant an actual full run.
Yay. Nowadays,
with modern developments or modern, being able to make boards on a whim, it's much cheaper, much easier to do this kind of thing. So Rick's a big fan of that. So in this case here, he actually got a CoCo 3 that he picked up as a bargain. It was supposed to be a 128K CoCo 3. And lo and behold, when you open up, it has a JNR Systems 512K upgrade pre-installed in it, and it works fine. So the person that was selling this obviously did not open up the case, did not really understand what he was looking at, and the badge on it said 120K CoCo 3, so that's what he sold it as. So he got a 512K for free.
Nice.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Now let's see what he does with it.
Did Burke and Burke know Daryl and Daryl?
They're cousins.
Yeah. First cousins.
Right. Burke and Burke were hubby and wife.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, yeah, if you want, this is one of the 512K upgrades from back in the day that I did not see as often. I saw performance peripherals, of course, the Tandy one, the Dista one, I saw quite a few of, but I didn't see too many of the JNRs. So that's one I'd not seen before. Maybe I saw it at a fest, probably at a booth or something, but I haven't seen one in the wild before. So
obviously hand drawn. I like the woofly swirls on the bottom of that there.
Yeah, there's no auto router being used there.
I'm glad you pointed out because I totally missed that, not being a hardware guy, but that's true. And the last one, if James Diffenbaff is still on the panel here, this is a comparison video of the C64 BASIC versus the MC10 BASIC, and I believe this is your optimized MC10 BASIC.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what it's comparing here, so I'll start playing the video if you want to kind of explain it.
This is that Solitaire's. If you look at the YouTube, there's a bunch of information in the description, but this is that Solitaire solver program that sits in, it shuffles the deck of cards and then it deals them out and plays solitaire. And I just basically did a benchmark, and it's pretty ugly.
So what is the ratio? Because I mean, from looking at it, I can't tell.
I let this run overnight, and I just caught this little video before I quit. And if you wait till close to the end, you'll see how many decks of cards it solved. It's, since their random number generators and stuff are different, there's some little fudge factor to it, but the longer you let it run, the more likely it is to be accurate. And if you look there, it's 238 on the Commodore 64 and 370 on the MC10.
So running at the exact same time for the exact same length of time, the MC10 got like 1.5 times as many decks.
Yeah, and even the standard MC10 ROM, it's about halfway in between the two. And the Apple II's a little faster. I did some benchmarks on the Apple II and the Commodore Plus 4. And the Apple II's a little faster than the Commodore 64. I think the graphics chip steals a few cycles on the Commodore. And the Plus 4, it has to bank switch so that it can access more RAM. So it really slows it down. I mean, it's like reading a character involves disabling interrupts, banking out the ROM, reading the character, banking in the ROM, enabling interrupts, all, over half of that the regular doesn't have to do. So it looks really slow and basic, but it's this, I think it multiplies that to 155% of the C64. and so it's over half again as fast in BASIC.
Cool.
And if you actually look at the BASIC for the 6502 versions of Microsoft BASIC, it's like searching for a line number takes over 20 instructions, and the main loop on the 6803 is 7. So it's kind of easy to see where there's such a big difference when you start looking at the code.
Yeah, and I remember a lot of these, like they did the Civer Astley's and all this stuff, type of benchmarks back in the early 80s, and the CoCo usually placed pretty good, given its megahertz rating compared to other chips.
Yeah, the problem with the math benchmarks is Microsoft just kind of did a straight port of stuff. The MC10, its ROM is almost exactly like the 6800 code from that they did for the Altair. I mean, the math library is probably straight 6800 code. I mean, that's 2K of the ROM. And it doesn't really take advantage of 16 bits, and it doesn't take advantage of the hardware multiply. If you look at All's benchmark, AHL, the guy that was big in creative computing, he did a benchmark that did a lot of square and square roots and looping and stuff, and he published the benchmarks for a whole bunch of different machines. And the MC10 benchmarked out at 159 to finish the benchmark, and the C64 and Apple II tied at like 153, I think. So it was the low 150s. But after the first implementation of the ROM I did with the hardware multiply, the MC10 dropped to 106, I believe.
Oh, that's a pretty big speed increase. So that meant the ROM. Well, mind you, Microsoft made these ROMs to be portable, so they didn't really optimize anything.
Right. Well, and when I tried to look up and see the first time anybody used, if the Motorola had done their floating point library for these that they distributed on their BBS, I tried to see if it used the hardware multiply, and even they didn't use it. And the first, I found this after I'd done it, but the first person that implemented it with I think it was the 68HC11 microcontroller was in the year 2000 or something like that. So it was just something that I don't know if people didn't realize they could actually use it or what was going on. But
I'll have to check, because I'm pretty sure Basic 09 is using the hardware multiply.
Basic 09 isn't a Microsoft product, though.
Ah, true, right.
Yeah,
that was Microware working with Motorola.
It's on Motorola, but it was written by different people, so it's probably
I mean, Microware at the time was working with Motorola directly. Like the 6809 and Basic 09 were actually kind of done at the same time.
Right.
It was meant to be a show-off piece. So
yeah, and it's just they just didn't really take advantage of it. I mean, you've got code in there that could have been 16-bit and could have been faster for dealing with a stack, and I mean all sorts of stuff that's just easy to optimize, and they just didn't do it.
Yeah,
I think you might have said it. Microsoft doesn't sell code. Microsoft sold products.
Well, yeah, they were interested in get it done as quick as possible.
Yeah, turnaround time was their optimization.
Right, and they also had that they were doing it on some sort of cross development on a mini computer or something, and it was kind of a primitive development environment. I mean, the assembler they used for the MC10 ROM didn't even make all of the direct page accesses a direct addressing instruction. So yeah, but the main thing to take away from it is if you start benchmarking a lot of stuff, and this isn't the only thing I've run benchmarks on, the Motorola chips really kind of put the 6502 to shame, the 1 megahertz. The 6502 does really well if you can organize its code so that it can do everything 8 bits. But as soon as you start dealing with 16 bits, like the line numbers and stuff for the basic program, you have a pointer to the next line that's 16 bits. The line number is 16 bits, and things go south in a hurry.
Yeah. No, that's kind of cool seeing the benchmarks. I mean, like I said, we've seen a few back in the day here too, but yeah, the 689 definitely was a more advanced chip.
Yeah, and the 6809 should have similar performance to the regular MC10. The patched, that multiply patch should help some stuff on the CoCo 3 that I did, and plus there's the high speed poke on the CoCo 1 and 2.
Yeah.
That what was that, like a 30% speed increase? So the CoCos, the entire line were significantly faster in basic than most of the 6502 machines.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the end of the news here, so I will stop sharing.
Pick up, Mark.
Yep. All right. Next up, I think we got updates and acquisitions.
Yes, sir.
We find the right mouse.
Mouses.
I hate Mises to pieces.
Grab the wrong mouse.
Mises pieces.
Gotta wake up and
All the coffee.
All right. Do you want to do now? Let's just go right into acquisitions because Jason's got a hard out in about 15 minutes.
Okay,
Excellent.
sounds great. Let's do that.
Take it away, Jason.
Yeah, take it away. Take it away. Take me away. Ha ha ho ho hee hee.
Take me away.
First thing I have is an acquisition from, you'll never guess where, eBay. And well, this is what I foolishly got rid of this stuff 20 some years ago. But I ended up getting the September 1984 issue of Rainbow on eBay in really nice shape, and it is just for your TRS-80 Color, TDP System 100, and Dragon and MC10. It says on the corner there. So I thought that was interesting. This was actually a little bit before I had a CoCo, so I never seen this issue unless I looked at it on the archive or got a.
I remember the cover.
I remember that one.
Yeah. So this, because I think it was at Christmas of '84 is when we got our CoCo. This appears to be, and I don't know if this was just a packing material or what, but I have this. I've never had one of these. It was in here. It was a Color Computer News, October 1982. So that's issue 13.
I subscribed.
And again,
that to me, if you were a hardcore technical person, programming or hardware wise, that was the best.
I never. This was before my time, but so that's cool. I'm going to check that out. And
that was also the first Color Computer magazine that actually came out before Rainbow did.
Yeah, and first that issue. Was where the Overture or whatever music
Wilhelm Tell Overture
was published.
Okay. And Frank Hogg's 64K for free column first appeared there too.
And
anyway,
and then finally, as far as an acquisition goes here, I kind of pulled this out and I'm like, what the heck is this? And then I realized
CPM card.
I realized it's the April 1984 issue of Hot CoCo, missing the cover.
Oh darn! I thought you actually got the CPM card because those were very
and that. So that was pretty cool. I think I've seen a few of these Hot CoCos, but again, I think that kind of went away.
Those were pretty good.
Not as cool as a CPM card, but okay.
Yeah, and it's not I was buying magazines, not CPM cards, but and then
we can do that.
You probably get your money back and more if you tell Brian Weasler that you got that other book.
Oh, yes. Yes, I know Brian Weasler as far as eBay acquisitions go. And now let's go. I'm going to go ahead and move into project updates. This is something I've been working on for quite some time. I've had a lot of people ask for it, and I was a little hesitant to get into it because it was really a skill set I didn't have. And I've spent a lot of time. And again, I'm gonna qualify this with this. This is a project. I'm scratching that itch. Other people may be scratching that and they have that same itch or something in that same neighborhood. And
Wait, is it a door for the CM8?
I wish. See, I wish. I got to get it. No, it's not. But that's. I don't want to. I don't want to
with a toggle switch.
I don't want to destroy the CM8 with the door market for people like Eric Canales. Otherwise, those prices are going to go way down on those CM8, because that is the man who bought the CM8 the last CoCo Fest we had. He bought a CM8 just for the door and then sold off the CM8 without the door to me. So it matches the other CM8 I have. It doesn't have a door either. But what I've been working on, and a lot of people asked for this, and I started to learn how to make circuit boards. Actually, work on the file, send out the schematics, send out all the files, have a board house, fabricate the actual PC board. Now I assemble it by hand, and I came up with this. And what this is a high res board. And what this is going to go in for the time being is it's a through hole board. It's no surface mount at this point, but just a through hole board. And this is going to go in to something I've been working on, and a lot of people have been asking for. Everyone's familiar with the Joey controller switch right here. Got the two inputs, has the two toggles, input and output, left switch between the left and right joystick port. And what I've finally came up with and actually have a working prototype of is it's going to be the Joey high res. So you've got your three inputs, and it's got lots of toggle switches. I've even went ahead and added a rotary switch, because now you have three inputs. You have your ABC inputs, and these are not the final decals. I did not have the final decals have not arrived, so these are just some existing decals I was using for reference. The new labels will be on their way, but this gives you the choice of three inputs through this rotary switch. It will give you the option of being on the, as I have it set up right now, and I think this is the way I'm going to leave it. The third port is going to be switchable between high res and standard, and then also beyond that, it's still going to have like the Joey control switch. You're still going to have your toggle here for your left and right joystick output. And finally, this is going to be an option, because I know there's some people that have feelings about this, but it's going to have an option for the old colorware mode if you want it. If not, it's going to be an option that you're going to be able to, you can order it without if you don't want it, but it's just an additional toggle switch. It's not that many parts to add, and it's a simple thing to add if someone wants it. Some people do, some people may not, just from what I've been reading on the Facebook group. But also, this has a pass-through for the cassette, so you can attach your cassette cable here, and when you that's just a 5-pin input for the cassette cable, and when you switch between, there we go, high res and standard, when you're in the standard mode, the cassette port will function as normal.
So is this going to have like a 50-page instruction manual?
It'll make more, it will have an instruction. Well, it's actually going to come in a 3-ring binder. It's going to be single space.
You mean you're not going to have it just as a downloadable PDF?
It'll probably be about a sheet or so, but it's once you have the labels on here, it'll be fine. I mean, it's just your left and right output. Do you want high or low, and what input do you want? And if you're feeling froggy and you want the colorware option, that switch will be there too. But I know it's basically a Joey controller switch with an additional input and high res.
Super so it's Joey. A smart switch.
So me, for example, I'd plug in a Tandy joystick, my Sega gamepad, and a mouse, and I would be able to choose which one is currently connected to the CoCo, which port it goes to, and putting the mouse in port 3 or C, I could say whether it's high res or normal. That's
absolutely. That is absolutely
correct.
And
the cassette plugs in, because normally the high res chews up the cassette port. If you're using cassette, you plug the cassette cable into it, and then your cassette will still be connected to the CoCo when you're not in high res mode.
It's
Well,
just
he must have got
eliminating
the
having to
check from-
unplug something.
No, I've been kind of working with him on
It slices, it dices,
the concept.
It does not do your taxes.
Are no real
Oh, wait, there's more.
But
How
wait,
much
there's
is it,
more.
Jason?
Now, how much would you pay?
How much is it? Well, that's a good question.
$19.99.
No,
And that's where
there's
the
lots
more
of wires in here. There's more than $19.99 worth of wires in here.
That's a lot of soldering.
Jason,
It is a
to
lot
make
of
it
soldering.
sound like a better idea, how many payments do we have to make on
How
it?
many It's not going to be that bad. Where you're going to have to. It's not
4
going to be
low
like
payments of
Easy
$49.95.
I'll just sell it through
Easy
Finger
payment.
Hut then, and you can finance it. But it's going to be a little bit more than the standard controller switch. I don't have an exact figure yet. I will
Don't
have
commit
that.
yourself if you're not sure.
No,
Then don't.
It's going to be a little more. It's going to be in. I'm going to ballpark it around $50.
Wow, that's decent.
Around might be a
that's
little more, might be a
still-
little less, but I'm going to say around that $50 range. I'm thinking.
That's going to save a lot of unplugging and
So-
plugging the cables and stuff.
So it's $59.99 basically.
Let's say it's 50
Under $75.
Under 70. Oh, absolutely under.
I hear
$75.
70. Anyone with
Now,
70?
now, would you be willing to pay $75? Because then I'll sell it to you for $75. I can do that. That's no problem. If you'd like to pay more, I can. That can be an. I can add that as an option.
Just put them.
I've got 75 from Mark B. Anyone
Just put
higher?
them up on eBay and start the bidding at $50.
Will there be a 40th anniversary edition?
There's going to be one. There's going to be one edition. Then you're going to have two options, just like on the serial switch, where you can get it. You can get a different colored selector knob if you want, and if you want the max option, and it's going to be all possible.
Crikey, it's got a knob.
Crikey. Well, the serial switch already has. Well, see it's actually plugged in. The Joey serial switch already has a knob, so
I see two of them.
No.
Are you gonna sell upgrade kits if we got a Joey already?
I will have to visit that. The layout is a little different compared to the. I have to see if that'll actually fit. Because the layout on the front for the DIN ports are a little different. I had to mount them vertically rather than horizontally, like I do in the serial switch. To
Now, can you
allow
combine
enough
those
room.
two and then have like?
Daisy chain if you want.
Well,
Can
if
you make a
have this,
box as big as the CoCo? So
if you have this, you don't need this.
Yeah, exactly.
But if for some reason you wanted to take these two and combine them, the serial switch and the controller switch, yeah, we could do that. It would be a bigger box.
It's like plugging two multi-packs into each other.
If you
Yeah,
want
exactly.
a multi-pack and a
Yeah, but
multi-pack.
that's don't be trashing on the multi-pack.
A rack mount version. I want a rack
mount version.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm just trying to see, like, if I was to combine them into a box, it would be a box like this size. So it would be a little larger, but I think everything would fit in this size box.
Did you ever consider a foot pedal switch?
No.
Reverse steering wheel.
How about a real-time clock?
How about a real-time clock? How about
I did ask about a real time clock already.
No, I always ask about a real-time clock. So why wouldn't you?
Real-time clocks alone.
Hey, maybe we ought to move on to the next update.
Yeah, absolutely. I am done. Good night and good luck.
That's a very
CoComan.biz is where it will be.
Is there a commercial
when
yet?
we start taking when I start taking pre-orders, it'll be at CoComan.biz.
Is there a commercial yet?
No, you want a commercial?
Ron needs.
No, he means for this product. I'm
For
assuming.
this new product.
Oh,
I gotta finish the stickers first.
Eric, I think you were up next.
Oh, I got a couple acquisitions. I don't know if I've shown this one before, but I got this 3D monster maze in the mail from Evan Wright. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Yep.
Yeah, we spotlight you here.
Yeah, we got. I got the kind of the see-through case, almost see-through.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, pretty nice. Runs pretty good. Pretty
Is
fun.
that 3D printed?
It's 3D printed.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you could get them in blue. I don't know if they have any left.
Cool.
Might be out of luck now. I got a collection of rainbow magazines from Tony Pedraza, including the little pamphlets. I don't know if you can see them there. So I'm pretty excited to go through them. It's not the entire collection of rainbow magazines, but it's the later years. Like, I think it was, I can't remember, maybe 87 and on. I don't remember, but it's quite a bit.
Okay.
And the last thing I've been working on lately is not really CoCo related, but it's more Tandy related. So I picked up this Tandy TD-T1 from Tandy Assembly. I don't know if you can see all that.
Oh yeah.
I've been installing some cards. I got myself an Audigy. I don't think anything will fall out. I installed a Voodoo 2 in there. You can kind of see the big card there. And that's my sound card there. So I'm planning to demo that at the computer shows. Show some Windows 98 action, 3D games, like Interstate 76 and Viper Racing, and a lot of the early 3D games.
Cool.
Cool. What you got on your CoCo there?
Malcolm
Mortar.
Yep, Malcolm Mortar.
What about?
All right. I think last up was Patrick.
Sure. I've got some Tandy projects to show. Let's see.
Can you hold them up again there, Rick? We didn't get a chance to see them.
Oh, yeah. It's,
Oh, the leather set.
The Tandy
haven't seen
stuff,
one of those
you
in a
know?
while.
I used to have one of those.
It's, if you try to sell anything, CoCo on eBay, it has to sell under Tandy leather. It's a rule. Not sure why, but it is.
Oh,
So-
that's why. I wondered.
Yeah. So anyway, probably seen something like this before.
Yep.
3 input into 2 output with a high res adapter. Here is my story. Can I share my screen? Oh, I can. Can't I? Can I? Does this own this? Is there a schematic that owns the screen?
Might be Mark.
Do I have to pick?
I'm not sharing.
I'm not sharing me. Select a window you want to share. Let me pick any desktop. Will it let me pick any desktop and share it?
Here it comes.
Yep.
Okay, so now can I switch to the desktop I want? Do we see a schematic now?
Yep.
So
Switchable res interface.
Here is the switchable res interface that I did way back in the 90s, and I thought I would do something modern with it. So I came up with this whole chip switchable. How's that to all happen? You'll notice there's not a toggle switch in sight, but I did use these little pick and pullable slide switches because I'm really trying to work on a generic product here, not a specific thing like, this. So anyway, that invoked the process of, okay, I've got these tiny little switches that can be pick and pulled even on SMT designs, but I have to be able to let humans switch them. And that in turn, okay, so we tested it, it worked. Then to make the case, I went into switch things. How do you make a tiny switch human sized? And you end up with this, and then you come up with another thing and a slightly better thing. And eventually I ended up with all of these parts. Just to encase my board. So,
what's it look like
do I go anywhere from here? I need to unshare my screen, and I have no idea how I do that. Go here, and this thing is so stop share. Okay, that will give me the camera, right?
Yeah, I got you.
And so I ended up with this little board and a case that it slides into. So this is kind of difficult to do on screen, but there's no really mounting involved by clever manipulation on a box that I made. You can just drop the case in and drop the top on and add those little greaselys, and hey, it's a box. It plugs on the back of the CoCo. And I think that might be my actual product, is taking any random thing and turning it into something like this. So there's no cables, there's no, the thing, it's kind of the Tandy idea of, okay, yeah, the board's mounted upside down, but you can run it through a wave solder machine and you don't have to come back over it. Anyway, that's what I've been working on. And I've got a couple other projects in mind, an Ethernet adapter and a couple other things, because Intel has a cute little chip that'll just your Ethernet for you.
Oh, that I would like.
And maybe, pass it through into an SDC and put a real-time clock on it. It'll be great.
But, that's a sure seller.
The dream.
Can I pre-order now? I heard real-time clock. I'm good.
Right. I need a feed-through project. I tried. I've broken enough things. I need to do something that will just work. So, anyway, that's where I'm at. I've got some boards coming in. So if anyone wants to solder together a little box that plugs on the back of your CoCo and does things, you can do that. I'll give you all the parts and everything. Eventually, I'll make a little surface mount board that I'm going to adapt to many computers, because a 3 and a 2 analog switch with 4 channels on each can be good. So that's where I'm at this week. And next week I'll have something better. Maybe I'll even do some leathercraft.
All right. Anybody else have anything? No? All right. Nope. We ready to stick a fork in this one?
Yeah, let's stick that knife in that dead horse.
All right. Let's do a little Nightmare Highway and then the outro.
Got some time to kill, might play a little Zaxxon. Might double back to play a little Temple of Rum. Dungeons of Daggorath, color baseball. But none can hold a candle to the greatest of them all. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Sure, I love my Sailor Man and Firefall. Go on a rampage for some super pitfall. Shanghai me into a game of rogue or demon attack. But sooner or later, you know I've got to come back to Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. It's got a road, and it's got a car. Dodge the furniture, and you'll be a pop star.
Okay.
Well, okay, maybe I just stick to the facts. To tell this truth, this game really ain't all that. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. I used to bow down to the Donkey King. Grabber and Cashman used to be my thing. Megabug, Buzzard Bait, Sea Dragon 2. But none of those can satisfy me much as you do. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway.
This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at CoCoTalk.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to CoCoTalk at CoCoTalk.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click the Patreon link at our website at CoCoTalk.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
CoCoTALK would not exist without the community, its cast, crew, and contributors. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholzer, Grant Leedy, Bruce Moore, Nick Marentes, Ron Delvaux, Rick Adams, Jason Reichert, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Tom C., Rob Inman, Mark Bosley, Brian Joyce, Ken Reichert, David O'Connor, Brian Weasler, Terry Steggy, Nick Marotta, John Strong, and many more, especially to Steve Bjork for production suggestions and James Differendaffer for making my head explode. Please help support the CoCo community by visiting some of its various contributors. A list of resources is available at imacoconut.com. That's IMACOCONUT.com. The CoCoTALK theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore.
Well, that about takes care of it. Everyone get enough barbecue and ice cream and whatever else.
Corn on the
Actually,
cob.
I'm hungry again.
Corn on the cob, yeah.
Potato
It's
salad.
just about dinner time. I say we take a quick break and come back for another 4 hours.
I believe this is the appropriate use of the word asparagus.
I'm going to throw a laser disc on the Barbie.
I don't know. I'm going to do something retro called I'm going to a LAN party after this.
Yeah. Well, I'm recording football, so I'm going to go do that.
Make sure your Ethernet cables are at least 6 feet long, David.
I'll just add in one thing briefly here. I just got a private message from Bodov Carr from the Amigos there, and I guess he's planning on doing a special RGB only CoCo stream. And he said, beside Rampage and Digger, can you give 3 other RGB showcase games that are pick up and play for the CoCo 3? Any suggestions from the panel here?
Xenix.
Yeah, definitely Xenix.
Yeah, Xenix and Crystal City.
Contras, I would imagine.
What about Thexter?
Okay.
Did you already
Hack
say
Dude
Rampage?
Monster Maze, I think I've thrown that in there too.
Did you already say Rampage?
Puzzle game from Sundog.
Oh, Photon.
Photon.
Good.
Oh, the graphics are great.
Yep.
Yeah, actually,
Come Guide to be a ninja.
Oh yeah.
When is that going to happen?
So Ken's suggesting Nightmare Highway.
I could add, I've sold all of my Thexters to people who collect Thexter, not CoCo items. So if you're looking to catch attention, Thexter works.
Interesting.
Because we have that,
Actually, I'll throw in some of Nick's games too, like Gatecrasher, Cosmic Ambush.
I mean, Gunstar would definitely be a good option.
Yeah, Gunstar, definitely.
Digger 3.
Yeah, Digger 3 and Rampage, he's already got that. He picked those on his own. So,
Popstar,
Gunstar.
What are we talking about? I need to get to making that theme for Popstar.
Games that showcase the CoCo.
Oh,
RGB on the CoCo. RGB in particular.
No geriatric displays this time.
No way.
Yeah. Get a black and white TV, you dummy.
Be retro. Come on.
Yeah, seriously. I actually had a black and white TV when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I know
a few people had them, their Cocos on a black and white TV.
Hit the button, Francis.
Wasn't
there a glitch program on the Sinclair ZX81, which is only black and white, that would get some kind of color out of your black and white TV?
I've got a black and white VGA monitor in the garage.
I have one of those handy, actually.
There's some glitch to make that show some weird colors on a black and white
I don't
TV
remember
under
offhand.
situations. It's around, but yeah, those are.
Well, it was the video was done by the CPU driving the output. So
and the good ones were on channel 36 UHF, so they were steady as a rock and had no background noise, unlike all the ones you could buy in the US.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
3 and 4 work well now.
Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks again.
Bye. Here again.